This time mic check. Mic check. This time I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District to order at 1 p.m. Machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect we have 7 sitting councilmen. Councilman Edgecombe and Councilman Black are absent today. Would all please stand for the prayer? We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for our parish's natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to obtain world peace. We pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do that which is right. Amen. Say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We'll move to item 2, the executive session. There being none, we'll move to item 3, status report by the Executive Port Director.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, and members of the audience. I am Sandy Sanders, Executive Director of Plaquemines Port, Harbor, and Terminal District. Follows is my Executive Director's report for the reporting period of 15 to 28 April of 2016. During this time period, I attended the Mississippi River Commission meeting that was held at the Port of New Orleans. This commission meets on a quarterly basis, not necessarily in Louisiana, but throughout anywhere from Minnesota down to Plaquemines Parish. I've attended meetings that were up in Minneapolis and in St. Louis. Major General Veer, who was the commanding officer at Vicksburg, hosts the meeting because he is in charge of the Mississippi River Valley. And Major General Jackson from the Corps of Engineers up in Washington, D.C. headquarters, who's in charge of Public Works, also attended. It's more of a meeting to hear from constituents, and the resounding theme that they walked away with is we need the money that has been set aside in the maintenance trust fund, Harbor Maintenance Trust Fund, that is being held by the last 2 or 3 administrations to have that money released to go towards what it was intended to do, and that is the maintenance of the Mississippi River Valley system. Again, it was dredging costs money. We have locks and dams that haven't been maintained in 60 plus years. And we all know about the locks that we have here in our zip code that are in dire need of maintenance. So the resounding theme that they received from our crowd, and they even told us this is the theme that they get at every meeting throughout the Mississippi Valley, is release the funds to go towards maintenance. General Veer pulled me aside and asked me to thank the council for your movement of getting that resolution signed at the last meeting. I know we had to speed things up, but analogous to the speedy resolution that we got with Baptiste Collette, your support letter was part of a packet that went up to the WRDA conference, and this year we have received the largest amount of appropriated funds for the Mississippi River. So he asked me to extend his many thanks to the board. During this time frame, we also hosted the 3 principles with American Patriot Holdings. American Patriot Holdings, I have talked about them. This is the outfit that is putting together the concept of the container on barge. We're working through feasibility studies. When those are finished, we'll be working on a joint marketing approach to do a strategic reach out to the market. We also had a dinner that evening, and attending were Councilman Bartholomew and Councilman Irvin. I will turn this over to Councilman Irvin for comments, and also to you, Mr. Bartholomew.
Well, we went to the meeting, and we met some individuals from New York, and they spoke about the containers, and we showed some. They showed us some slides, and it was very interesting. And I think if it all works out, it would be very good for Plaquemines Parish. If it's not going to be tomorrow, it's going to take a while, but it looked very good.
Councilman Bartholomew.
Yes, thank you. It's very important that we start developing a new resource, new finances. And the Mississippi is the key. And the information came out of the meeting that I have taken out of the meeting. That means we're in the right posture and with the right attitude to get industry to come in to create a new venue that would assist Plaquemines Parish in the very near future as having an independent resource, not predicated on prices throughout the oil, but it's a shipping industry. And the mechanism that they offer to put in place would be a new mindset for distributing container ports up and through down the Mississippi River, which means that they have less time sitting at a port, which eventually causes cost of product and stuff will increase. But by moving it quickly and faster, I mean, it'll be cheaper, and it'll be a whole lot more money coming into the stevedores through Plaquemines. And not only that, the stevedores themselves will be able to increase the number of trips throughout the year. And with that being said, that means we're going to increase a lot more tax bases. Thank you.
Yes, sir. During this time frame, we had a group from Plaquemines area. We provided the port strategic vision and action plan to the Lieutenant Governor of Louisiana. The action plan connects a lot of projects that have been going on in the parish for 20-plus years. Some of y'all are very familiar with these, the rehabbing of the tunnel, a new bridge, access roads to the north side of the Naval Air Base, bringing down the rail from West Wego down Harvey Canal, around the Naval Air Station, widening Highway 23 down at the Port Sulphur area, all the way down to the area of what we all know as Venice Port Complex. And then wrapping all of these projects into what we call an energy corridor. We are very blessed in this area because there are not many communities in the U.S. that have all four major modes of transportation in one zip code. We're working on the maritime. We are improving our road systems. We are improving our rail systems. And with the introduction of commercial air cargo from Callender Field, that is the last link that we need with that air transportation to bring all four major modes of transportation together in one central area. And what we are creating here is an intermodal, meaning it can go from one mode to another, multimodal, i.e. the rail, the air, the maritime, and the highway, and putting it all together and wrapping it into what is called an energy corridor. An energy corridor is what the Port of Fourchon put together, and yes, I am copying what they did, and they had community leaders, they had their elected leaders, they had the governor, they had their congressional leaders, and equally important, they had the big oil companies that they serve stand together shoulder to shoulder in telling the Congress and the Senate and the President's office This is what we need. We have a very valuable resource here, and it needs to be funded. And so that I am analogous to that. I am putting this together. Councilman Black would like for me to meet with Mr. President and also include, and we've done this, but a better communication of what we're trying to do here in our parish and put these all together. That they're projects that are, there's a symbiotic relation with all of these projects. And if we put it all together as in one grandiose project, then it becomes Plaquemines Parish project. I'm going to also brief Mike Yenny, who is the president of Jefferson Parish. He is very interested in the projects that we are doing because some of our projects, though they are not in our backyard, they're not in Plaquemines Parish, they run through his parish. And he is very excited about that. And so again, it's combining our resources, combining our political leaders together for the greater good of our area and our whole southern region of Louisiana. I must say that the Lieutenant Governor is totally on board. As you know, the Lieutenant Governor, he can't help but lend his advice, and he's in a helping hand. Attending this meeting were Councilman Black, representing the Port Board, and Councilman Barthélemy. I wanted to get two folks from both boards to council. Councilman Black is not here, but again, I turn it over to Councilman Barthélemy for your comments.
It was very informative, I'm sure, and I was able to get a lot of support from the people that was there, especially our Lieutenant Governor, who had vowed that he would do anything necessary to support the Port of Plaquemines Parish in which way he can assist, he's willing to do that. Also, you had other representative people there representing different components of the business, and they was amazed at the presentation and what is our vision, since it's already been identified and what way we are moving. So it was very supportive, very successful.
Thank you, sir. I received an update from Sherman Bryant, who's the CEO of Cambridge Energy. Cambridge Energy is the floating LNG project, which is going to be on the lower part on the east side of the river. He is working hard on his offtake agreements, mainly with the South Korean government, that could produce up to 8 million tons of LNG. That is very key. They're like anytime when you deal with a government, it's not as fast as you like it, so they got to go through some elections. But once that is taking place, he is assured that they will take the full offtake of the 8 million tons. So that will give him a fire in his belly to get on with this project. We're continuing to meet with entities that are interested in the Freeport Sulphur site and the AMAX site. We're working on their financials to arrange a purchase leaseback type arrangement. We're gathering info on investors, their business plan. In particular, they're done in Bradstreet ratings, just to make sure that we're not talking to someone who is not properly vetted. This is ongoing. They're covered by non-disclosure agreements. But as time and the projects permit, I will be announcing these on the progress. We met with Bob Pender. He is one of the co-CEOs of Venture Global, and we discussed permitting and drainage problems on the property that they have put an option on. He feels very good that the permitting, even though it took a bump in the road, that it is going to be headed in the right direction. And he was very concerned about the drainage on the property. We are working with some parish employees that have been nothing but spectacular as far as being attentive to the needs to bring this industry in. So I'd like to thank Blair Rittner and but Blair has been very helpful with us on this. And lastly, we have instituted a monthly standing meeting of the Port Committee. one of the first things we did was we instituted a time and a place and a date to have this monthly meeting. And we have chosen the first Tuesday of the month at 1700, and it will take place at the Port Executive Conference Room on the third floor. Obviously, an open meeting, so mark your calendars. This was a good move because, as y'all have witnessed in this meeting, we've had some fits and starts since we started we reinstituted the Port Committee, and so I think we're off to a good start. I will defer to Councilman Audrey. Comments?
Mr. Sanders, at this time, I would reserve my comments, but I concur that the committee agreed upon the monthly meeting, and having said that, I would defer it back to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. On the agenda today, we have a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Trident Holdings Incorporated for 1 year. This item was discussed during the recent Port Committee meeting that we had this past week, and the committee recommended that representatives from Trident address the council prior to action, which we wholly support. So I am asking that we defer this in order to arrange for Trident to be here, hopefully by the next council meeting. I got in touch with them immediately after their meeting. They are scrambling with their schedules, but they will be here to address. And questions asked, and where are we headed with the port. I think that's very important. I know there's a lot of questions out there. And, this is not my port. This is our port. It's Plaquemines Port. And there's folks in this room that, through their taxes, help build the port. And we appreciate that. And so they deserve some feedback. And so I am setting that up as fast as I can. But I do ask that that be deferred until I can bring them forth. Mr. Vice Chairman, subject to the questions that you have or the board has or from the audience, this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders, and I'll just open up to the council, to the table, if they have any questions or comments. Mr. Sanders.
I am very pleased with the outcome of the port setting up committees, the committee meeting to represent what was done with the committee. And now I think we're in line of the legislation. So I really appreciate that effort from the committee members as well as the administrative team for the port.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else of the audience? There being none, we'll move to item, I'm sorry. Come on up, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've heard this statement about what we can do on the west bank of the river. What I'm going to say might be contrary to it. The last time I said something like this at a meeting, they would not ever allow me to speak at a council meeting after that, so I don't want to lose that privilege. But for some reason or other, they can't understand, and I sat down and explained to them why. But Plaquemine Parish happens to be a port of a metropolitan district which has 6 of the 7 trunk line railroads that cover all of the United States, Canada, and Mexico. 5 of the 6 are on the east bank of the river. The one that is on the west bank of the river is 25 miles from Plaquemine Parish. It takes a grade school kid to understand that. The good thing about it, and I mean, I like the New Orleans and Gulf Coast Railroad, but it is not actually a railroad. It's a switching line. And every time, maybe if we're only shipping one container, they'd be satisfied. Go ahead and pay the fee. But when you start shipping 100 containers, you look other ways to do your business. And the business would not be the port of Plaquemine Parish. I remember speaking to Mr. Sanders, and he vehemently opposed doing any business with the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad. If you're on the west bank of the river, the only way you can do your business is with the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad. All of your railroads are on the east bank. So why put it on the west bank? I don't know how many times I have to say it, but I told him, I sat down there and talked to him for an hour, explaining everything. And please believe me, I've only been in the business 60 years, so I might not know what it's all about. But it bothers me badly that we continue to have the same silly argument. Yes, you could do it, but you won't have no business. It is business that pays for it. If we go ahead and put it on the West Bank, we'll give it to the New Orleans and Gulf Coast Railroad. They will give us a switching charge. The only way they can move that car is to another switching line, like the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad, to get it across the river. So before we ever move, we already have 2 switching charges on it, and if you do that to business, they're going to go elsewhere. If you lose 3 days in a shipment because you can't move these big trains at night, I mean, you have to use it at night, and you'll lose 3 days in a shipment. That's the reason why Mr. Pennison told him they had trouble one time with shipping something on the New Orleans Public Belt Railroad. It took 10 days to get across the river. You do that, you're not going to get repeat business. I can guarantee the Norfolk Southern Railroad 20,000 containers a month, and know that I can easily put it. You think I'm going to come there with 20,000 containers and pay switching charges? I mean, let's be serious, huh? And I talked to the man, and I told him I did it for his good, and he still doesn't understand it. I want to keep this argument up. But if you give it to a trunk line railroad like the Norfolk Southern, they have an interchange system. And when I told him that, he said, "What's that?" He said, "How would the Norfolk Southern get it to the other railroads?" I said, "Through their interchange system. If they want to interchange with the CSI, they go to New Orleans East. If they want to interchange with the other 4 railroads, they go to Shrewsbury, which is in Jefferson Parish." I don't mind, but if the man knew his job, he wouldn't be up here proposing the stuff that he's proposing. I've been in this business. I know it back and forth. My people are ready to probably invest in excess of $4 billion on the east bank of the river, and we don't want this kind of stuff. I know what I'm talking about, and I know what I'm doing. I had a meeting with some people from Central America the other day. I was told, why didn't I invite the council to the meeting? Actually, it was just an in-house meeting, but the first thing I did, I called up all the councilmen and told them, come. There were 2 of them that were able to make it. I know it was the last minute. It's not my fault, because I thought it was just an in-house meeting, because I wanted Amos Cormier to meet the man from Guatemala, who is one of my partners. And Amos Cormier had the duty one time to stand in the reception line for Vice President Biden. And I had the chance to talk to Amos. And I told him, I said, Amos, as soon as you see the vice president, tell him these 3 simple words. He did that. It stopped the reception line. And the vice president said, get somebody that can give me this man's name and how to contact him. I can guarantee, knowing full well that once I get the wharfs built, I can guarantee Plaquemine Parish 550,000 containers a year. If they can beat that, I'll move elsewhere. I appreciate that you gave me some time to talk.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond to that. If Mr. McCarthy has $4 billion and ready to build a port, I'm your biggest cheerleader. I say go build it.
It's a process. You don't just go down to the corner bank and say, give me $4 billion. Okay? It's a process. There's a lot of work
And there
to
are
it.
many people that are located on the East Bank that were here, and they didn't ask my permission to build. They purchased property, and they built it. There's folks on the West Bank, did not ask my permission to build. They built, and they're doing business. If you are ready to go, I'm your biggest cheerleader. You ready to go?
I don't even want you in my stadium.
Okay.
Be honest with
All
you.
right.
All right, let's end it there.
I'll
Thank you, Mr.
limit-
McCarthy.
Okay, but let
Thank
me,
you.
can I answer?
No, sir, that's it. Thank you. Mr. Roussel.
Yes. To me, we've heard these stories for some time. We've heard the ports stories for some time. As a mediator between all of these entities, we have to sit here and hope that something will come to fruition. And whether it's Sandy's efforts or your efforts, we want to see something developed on the port. And I don't want to get into a debate or discussion. I appreciate all of your efforts. I've been to your meetings. I attend some meetings with the port, and I listen to their presentation. And I haven't seen any action on any of the projects when it comes to containers. So until that happens, we'll continue to talk about the East Bank versus the West Bank. But as he said, whoever brings the project to the table, this government will embrace it as the port, as the council, as the government. So to continue this dialogue about, what was said, what wasn't said, and who's going to do what and who's going to do this, until somebody brings something to the table, I don't see anything changing. And I'm going to hold my comments for Trident at the next meeting to see what they're going to bring to the table, since we've spent $1.7 million on them. So I want to see this debate simmer down, if that's possible, and everybody go and do their thing, and the first one that catches the fish or the whale, bring it to the table. So without that, I'm completed my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Roussel.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if I interject, the thing that I talked about with Vice President Joe Biden is this, and I hate to put a damper on the wall that candidate Trump is trying to build. If we can create jobs in Central America, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, then those people will stay in those areas. So what we're trying to do with Plaquemines Parish is create that venue to where that we can put this northern triangle together and create jobs in that area in order to help out not only their countries, but also the United States of America, and to solve a problem, whether it be in Central America or South America. Joining the two continents together and having that trade balance. And we believe that Plaquemines Parish can be the stepping stone to that particular triangle. If you look at it on paper, how it's configured on there, then this is a viable process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll move to item number 4, bids and advertisements. There being none, we'll move to item number 5, introductions of ordinances and resolutions. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yes, I have one. An ordinance to amend as amended and readopt Rule 1, Charter 1, Section 2-18, the Code of Ordinance for Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, to establish a meeting of the Plaquemine Parish Council as sole governing authority of the Plaquemine Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Gino? Mr. Roussel? Mr. Lapine? I have two. An ordinance to amend, as amended, readopt Rule 1 of Chapter 1 of Section 2-18 of the Code of Ordinances for Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to establish the meetings of the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
It's the same
It's
one.
the same one. Is it?
There's two different ordinances. One is to change the meeting days, and one is for the time.
Thank you.
So the one, excuse me, so the one Mr. Byrd introduced just now was the time. It's regarding-
Mr. Burt's doing it to where there would be only one port meeting a month, and Mr. Bartholomew is changing the time of the port meetings.
Thank you.
A resolution authorizing the Port Executive Director, Mayor Jay Sanders, for and on behalf of the Plaquemines Port Harbor and Terminal District, to name and accept the proposal of the Plaquemines Parish Gazette as the official journal for the Plaquemines Parish Council as the sole governing authority of the Plaquemines Parish Port Harbor and Terminal District, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That is all. Ms. Salvant?
I have none.
Ms. Williams?
I have none.
We'll move to item number 6. There being none, item 6B is being deferred. We'll move to item number 7. No introductions of resolutions where suspension is being sought. And we'll move to item number 8, approval of the April 14th, 2016 meeting minutes.
I'll offer.
Councilmember Bartholomew offers. There a second? Second by Councilmember Williams. The machine is open on the minutes. And the minutes are adopted 7-0. This time I'll move for an adjournment.
I'll offer.
Offered by Councilmember Williams. I get a second? Second by Councilmember Juneau. Machine is open. And the adjournment is 7-0 at 1:33 PM.
We'll call the meeting of the April 28, 2016 council meeting to order at 1:35. The machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that 7 sitting councilmen, Councilman Black and Councilman Edgecombe are absent. Mr. Cormier is here with his staff, and welcome everyone. Before we move to item 1A, executive session, I'd like to ask my colleagues to go through it for their deferrals and withdrawals. Mr. Bartholomew?
For 6A1.
6A1, deferred? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Juneau? Thank you. Mr. Russo?
None.
Thank you. I'm going to defer some on behalf of Mr. Black also, so bear with me. 6A2 is deferred. 6B is deferred. 6E, F, and G are deferred. 6I is deferred. 6T, 6U, and 6V are all deferred. And 6W will be deferred. Mr. Burt.
6K will be deferred.
6K deferred, okay. Thank you. Ms. Salvant?
Yes. I will be withdrawing 6H.
I'm sorry, H?
Yes,
Okay.
as in horse.
Withdraw. Okay. Okay, Ms. Williams?
I don't have any, sir.
Thank you. Just to recap for the audience, 6A1 is deferred, 6A2 is deferred, 6B is deferred, 6E, F, and G are deferred, 6H is withdrawn, 6I is deferred, 6K is deferred, 6T, U, V, and W are deferred. So, with that, we'll move to item 1A, executive session, and before we do, I will respectfully request that item 2 on executive session be deferred to the next meeting to allow Mr. Black and Mr. Edgecombe to be present to hear any information presented.
At this time, I would like to have the executive session, unless it's your intention to defer the item on the agenda to withdraw the suit. I think that it would benefit the council members that are here today to listen to the executive session, and then we can defer it and have it again at the next meeting where those two council members that are absent can hear it again, because it might take you twice to understand it.
Okay? Ms. Barber, will you read executive session?
6A1, Lemoyne versus Schultes and PPG, 24th JDC, case number 719686, Division P, Attorney Shane Williams. 1A2, Plaquemines Parish Government versus William H. Billy Nungesser, 25th JDC, number 62-538, Division B, Attorneys Shane Landry, Melvin Burmaster, Robert Burnett.
Can I get a second on executive session?
I'll second.
Second. Machine is open on executive session. Seven to 0, and we will adjourn the executive session at 1:38. Session at 2:33, finding no legal and binding action. Wait, there's been a request to move to 6. Wait, I'm sorry, hold on. Miss Audrey. X. 6X. Ms. Barber, will you read 6X?
A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish President Amos Cormier Jr. to enter into and execute the original entity-state agreement for LA 23, Happy Jack to North Port Sulphur, State Project Number H.001399, Federal Aid Project Number H.001399, herein referred to as the project, with Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, DOTD, and the Regional Planning Commission.
Your offer, Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I do, I offer it.
Offer and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Williams. Ms. Salvant?
Yes, I think we have a consultant here to address this legislation, but I think in summary, I think what it does is this legislation will allow us to move forward with to enter into a contract with the state to get the design completed. So I think the consultant is here. We can have him to come up and explain it to the council. Thank you.
I'm Michael Nicolatis, NY Associates, and we are the design engineer for Plaquemines Parish on this project. And essentially, what this agreement does is allow the parish and the state to agree to move forward with the project. The reason that the agreement's required is in essentially the parish via the RPC has completed the environmental assessment. The parish then engaged NY to do the survey work, topographic survey work, which is complete. And the parish has agreed to fund the engineering design. The state has agreed, or will agree, to fund the construction of the project. That's why this entity-state agreement is required. And DOTD, again, would fund the construction of the project, or plan to fund the construction through its budget process when the plans are done. DOTD would have to do that in about 2.5 to 3 years. The design process we have to follow requires that we go through the DOTD steps, and DOTD is very particular about the process and the stages and the different design submittals, so it's about a 2.5 to 3 year process. So hopefully, once that is done, the project could then be constructed. This is the last segment of LA 23, which is still 2 lanes between Happy Jack and Port Sulphur. I'd be happy to answer any questions or...
No, I don't, I think I just needed to be mentioned, that this is the 4-lane highway in Port Sulphur.
Yes,
I
so
think
it's
that
currently a
needs to be
2-lane road. That's the last
Right.
segment, which is 2 lanes. The job is stated as a widening project, but just so you'll know, it really is a complete reconstruction. It's essentially will be a new 4-lane highway, not just widening the existing 2 lanes.
I'd like to say real quick, I'm glad to see this thing finally off the ground, and for the residents of the lower end of the parish, this is long overdue. So, Ms. Salvant, you got my support 100%.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I may
Mr.
also interject that Governor Edwards did mention this at the West Bank luncheon
Correct.
as one of the things that he wanted to see to take place because of the infrastructure with the oil industry and so forth. And this 2-lane road should have been completed way back in the 60s, and it's been lingering on and on and on since then. So I'm really appreciative of the efforts that NY has done, and hopefully we can complete this thing in 2.5 years.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. How long the stretch is?
It's about, I want to say, it's about 4 miles.
About 4 miles?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The construction, it's an expensive construction, which would be about $40 million to actually construct
okay.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Russo has a question.
Oh, sure.
Yes, when the president mentioned Governor Edwards in 1983 mentioned it as well.
Okay.
So
we have 2.
I was wanting to clarify what Edwards he's talking about.
John Bell.
So if John
Hopefully it can
Bell,
ring a
Yeah,
bell.
I was at that lunch, and we were pleased to hear him say it, and I didn't realize that the former governor had also mentioned it also.
it's been mentioned for many times, and it's been relocated from existing to river and back to existing. So I assume that y'all have worked out all of the problems with the sewer lines and all of that
Yeah,
being...
the environmental assessment addressed utility relocations. That's part of the construction cost. There are about $7 million of various utility relocations that are part of that cost, and that's part of the cost that DOTD would be funding as the utility relocations during the construction.
And the reason I bring that up is because the government needs to look at that when they decide to spend local money in that corridor and make priorities as to when that project of the highway will
Oh,
come
right.
in and do those relocations and new lines versus us spending money and then tearing it up.
Good point. We'll be working with your engineering department, make sure that goes according to, we don't want to do anything twice.
Right, I just want to put that on the table so the ST and the administration works and realizes
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, one more question, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, if I may. That expansion will take place on the marsh side of the highway, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's yeah. There's not much right-of-way at all to be acquired. The right-of-way essentially is there, essentially.
Thank you.
As the foregoing speakers have said, how long this project has been in process, I'm just excited as the district representative that this project is finally coming to fruition. So I appreciate everybody that had something to do with to bring it to this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Audrey. Any other questions from the table? Audience? Mr. Lawrence?
Warren Lawrence, Myrtle Grove. Well, the question I had was, how much is this costing the parish, and where is the money for the design. I understood the parish is going to have to pay for the design?
Yes.
And how much is that?
The engineering design is approximately $1.5 million.
Okay. And when they did the other highways all the way through, did the parish pay for the design on the rest of the highways, or did the state pay for it?
I'm not sure about that.
It's a state highway.
It is, yes.
And I'm questioning, are all state highways that the local parishes have to pay for design on state highways? And where do we get the $1.5 million? Where's it coming from? With that, I'll sit.
We requested Representative Leopold to find capital outlay money to cover the rest of the design. We originally had put in $500,000 to start the design, getting a survey and a geotech work done, just so we could at least keep this ball rolling. Mr. Turner had supported this project initially with $140,000 for the Stage 0 report, and then RPC came in to help us with the Stage 1, which is the environmental, which NY was the consultant that completed that portion. And I believe Mr. Turner was the one that got the $500,000 appropriated to get the design on the last term. So it's the $1 million that we need to complete the design is, as I understand it, coming out of the capital outlay funding. And that's what this entity-state agreement is for, to help us pull that money from the state.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dugas. Anyone
Mr.
else?
Lawrence- Mr. Lawrence, this is not one we want to have a conversation on. We want to move this one forward.
Oh, I know. We want to move forward. We want to make sure we're paying for something we have to pay for.
Thank you. Anyone else? The machine is open on 6X. And the resolution is granted 7-0. We will move now to 6A4. Barbara, can you read? That's right, Nicole?
Yes.
An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference, and which is paragraph thereto with reference to application number 2016-160 dated February 16, 2016.
You offer, Ms. Williams?
Yes.
I'll second.
This is an ordinance to rezone some property currently zoned as rural agricultural A2 into general zoning, general commercial zoning C2. This went in front of the zoning board. To my knowledge, they approved this, Ms. Rose?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if anyone wants to speak on it, I have Mr. Newman, who is trying to rezone this, and he's interested in selling the property, and they have some investors that want to put some commercial property there. Y'all want to come up and speak on it, or?
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Rebecca Rostrup. I'm with Telus Development out of Gulfport, Mississippi. I'm here to answer any questions you might have regarding our project.
What is the intention, what are y'all intending to place there, ma'am?
We're going to put large storage buildings that will be individually enclosed units that will accommodate boats, RVs, those type of
Do you have an
size.
approximate figure on the cost of your project?
It'll be somewhere around $1 million.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the table?
Yeah, what you plan to store in those buildings?
They are individually large enclosed
Yeah, but I
units.
mean, what,
They'll accommodate boats, RVs,
right.
that type of storage.
Just thinking about chemicals or anything of that nature.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
No opposition at the zoning hearing?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I would just like to thank you for coming down and spending some money in our parish so we can get some sales tax. I appreciate that.
Any other questions from the table?
Mr. Chair-
Audience?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
I'll be present but not voting.
President not voting, okay. Anyone from the audience? Okay, the machine is open on 6A4. And the ordinance is granted 6-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else need something moved to? Okay. Oh, 6C will be deferred. For anyone waiting on 6C is deferred. All right.
I have, we have consultants in the room on the flood insurance.
See.
Yeah, if we want to move forward. E.
7E. We'd like to move to 7E, Ms. Barber.
Discussion of federal flood insurance and base flood elevation maps. Councilmember Roussel.
Mr. Russo?
Yes, I don't know, I believe we have some people in the room who are interested in commenting on this. My purpose in this, bringing this forward is that I've had many constituents inside the 100-year protection area call about their flood rates. Some people on one side of the street pay $460. On the other side of the street, they pay $2,400 or whatever. And so my goal is to be able to see if there's a way for us to get updated on the LAMP program and on the flood insurance program and ultimately adopt the flood maps that are in the 100-year protection, if we can do that separately, to allow those people inside the 100-year protection the ability to have their flood insurance rates reduced. And what spurred this on was the fact that the news media picked up in Orleans Parish that they were moving forward and they were saving all of this money on flood insurance, and naturally people called, and it's time that we address it and try to give them a status.
So, is someone here to speak on that?
Blair Rittner, Land Department, Plaquemines Parish. I have with me an associate, Mrs. Melissa Kennedy. She's with HNTB. She is the company that the parish is contracted to do the LAMP program. She does have a short presentation. I'd like to pass out the presentation brief to y'all and let her take it from here. Melissa.
Thank you.
H.
Do you want me to start or wait till he passes out the presentation? It's not very long. I'm going to speak on the LAMP process and where we are within the process. I'm not going to speak on insurance rates and that type of thing because it's not my purview. I don't have the historical knowledge on that, but I can give an update on where we are with the LAMP process. I just want to give a little bit of background. A couple years ago, Congress authorized FEMA to go ahead and reevaluate some of the mapping that was done to include levee systems that were currently non-accredited. And what that means is a credited levee is one that provides 100-year level flood protection according to FEMA guidelines. Their current maps, if a levee did not meet their criteria, the way they did the analysis is they assumed that that levee did not even exist. So this new program, it's called the Levee Analysis and Mapping Procedure, allows FEMA to go ahead and reanalyze those areas to include the levees and some sort of protection that they can provide. So a couple years ago, the FEMA instituted this program, and there are 25 different pilot programs. Plaquemines Parish is one of them. The objective of the program, again, is to update the flood risk associated with the levees, develop new floodplain maps, and hopefully lower insurance rates and maintain your real estate values. That's the intent, to actually show that the levees that are existing will provide some level of protection. As part of this process, they've established a local levy partnership team. There have been 3 meetings to date. The intent of that team is to engage the community in the process so that their input is included in how this whole process and procedure goes along. Currently, FEMA has done some preliminary mapping, or I should say preliminary analysis, and we've just completed the review process of that preliminary analysis. This slide, it's kind of hard to read, but what it generally shows was the preliminary analysis done by FEMA utilizing a modeling system that analyzes the waves that go over the levees. It goes across Plaquemines Parish. And what this map shows is basically the change in base flood elevations from the 2008 firm maps. You'll notice that some locations, the actual flood elevations have increased, and in some locations they've been reduced. Overall, there's an average of about 0.5 feet reduction in the overall base flood elevation. Now again, this is the preliminary modeling that FEMA did. So what they've done is they've made available their model to us to review. And so Plaquemines has done the review of that model. And what we've done is gone through and we checked to verify that they included the correct levee elevations and all the elevations that are expected to be in place by June of 2016. That is their baseline condition, June of 2016. We also looked at the model and noticed that they had not included some of the coastal restoration projects that had been put in place. So we provided that information to be included in the model. There was also a lot of discussion on the wave period and analysis utilizing the wave period. So they have taken those discussions and recommendations into consideration and are updating the model with that. And we've also provided a lot more detailed information on the land use and existing vegetation within the parish. And we asked that they included an additional area that we felt had not been adequately analyzed in the model. So that is where we are right now. We've had these meetings with FEMA. They are currently now incorporating all these recommendations that we've suggested into the model. And the next slide. And this kind of is just a very generic slide, and I wanted to show that because I wanted to show on the top slide that there are lots of things affecting the flood elevations and how they're developed and the waves that come and surge and how all different types of features help reduce the wave heights and the surge within the parish area, which also then contribute to a reduction in the base flood elevations. So on our path forward, as I said, FEMA is currently updating their model right now. We're hoping that they told me, I talked to them this morning, and they expect to have new base flood elevations in June of this year. Also in June, they're going to come up with some preliminary maps, and we're going to get together again and review the preliminary maps and make sure that we are in agreement and concurrence with how they've done the mapping. Then they're going to essentially issue the updated preliminary FEMA maps, which then go out for a public review period of 30 days and a 90-day appeals process. So there is still time after they issue those to review them, comment, etc. After that process is done, then I understand that FEMA issues the preliminary flood maps, at which time there's also a 20-month implementation phase before all these new base flood elevations take effect. And at that time, the parish and others have the opportunity to review further what's been done, and if they feel that there are changes that need to be made to the model or the mapping, then they have an opportunity to do that. Because one thing you need to understand, again, FEMA is using a baseline of June of 2016. We know that the Corps is currently building levees, and we had to give them the elevation at June of 2016. So after that time, we know the Corps is going to continue to build some of these levees. So we'll have the opportunity after the preliminary maps come out to get those new levees and the higher elevations included so that we can get those maps revised. And that's what the CLOMR means. It's a conditional letter of map revision. It's an opportunity to revise the mapping.
Thank you.
And that's what I can tell you about LAMP.
Okay. A quick question. And revert back to Mr. Russo. I too get constituents calling saying, it's on the front page of the newspaper, did Orleans adopt the flood maps? Or is it by parish by parish?
It's parish by parish.
Okay, so they have adopted, because people see that and say, why we haven't adopted, why my rates are still, I got people living adjacent to each other and paying two different. But I try to explain them, and I'm glad you brought this up, that, there's underlying factors that we're still working on.
Yes.
Between levees, between hurricane protection, 100-year protection. So I try to ease their fear and say, it's in the works, but now you have given me sort of a timeline that now I can report that this is where we stand now.
Yes.
So, one other thing, didn't we get an extension from Biggers Waters Act for 2017? And that, are we under the gun to get this done before 2017?
I'm not sure the schedule. Do you know this, Blair? I know the schedule in the mapping analysis plan that they prepared for the parish. It does show going into 2017, but I think that's part of the 20-month review period.
Okay.
Or implementation phase. So.
Okay. Now, will there be public hearings on this?
I know there's a 30-day public review comment period, in which case I'm not sure if they're going to do a
public hearing.
Right.
Okay. But it's just the review time. Is that all that's listed? I'm just asking.
I'm not sure if they have to do the public meeting. End of July is when they're going to submit it.
Okay.
I mean, I assume if you want a public meeting, I think that
I'm just wondering if they've been protocol or.
I'm not sure if it's protocol or not, but
Okay.
they've been extremely cooperative and working together with the parish on trying to do this.
Okay. All right. I'm opening up to other questions.
Let me thank you for your presentation. Let me ask a few basic questions. In the LAMP modeling, does it take in the entire parish or just outside of the 100-year protection?
Outside of the 100-year.
So I want to break this down into different discussions. Outside of the 100-year protection is where LAMP is addressing the features. The features that they are addressing or including in the models, are they actually dirt on the ground, or are they projects in the works that are being considered?
Both.
So
the baseline date is June of 2016. So whatever we told them that we felt would be in place by June of 2016 is their information.
So would Shell Island be included in that?
I'm not sure if that one is or not.
The
I don't
Barrier
know all
Islands?
the restoration-related projects. I know we gave them a whole bunch of them, but I couldn't tell you all the individual ones that are included. I can get back to you on that.
Okay, well, I just want to get an understanding and for the public's information to allow them to understand where we're at, because we're dealing with two different things. My next part of this will be to ask Mr. Metcalf to come up after the questions are completed to you. We will talk about inside the 100-year protection separately. But as far as the LAMP program goes, it's outside of the 100-year protection. And I was curious to know, with the REACH B2 project, was that included in the?
Is it completed?
No, it's not even.
Is it under construction?
No, it's not.
Then no.
So only projects as of what date were included?
June of 2016.
No,
In a couple months.
When they did the modeling.
That is how they're doing it.
So whatever's in place at June of 2016 will be included in the model?
Yes.
So that includes the Barrier Islands chain that's been restored and
I believe so. I know there are some Barrier Island
or any
projects
ridge
in there.
project,
Yes.
Davis Pond, those things?
The ones
Okay.
that will be completed by that point in time.
Okay. Well, thank you for that part of the presentation. What I'm interested in discussing now is that I would like to see if there's a way that we can address the base flood elevation maps inside 100-year protection and introduce an ordinance to accept those so the people that are inside 100-year protection can, again, benefit from the the reduced rates.
And
Yeah,
to-
hold on.
to answer your,
Yes, I have a question.
Hold on, Mike. I think Mr. Bartholomew's got a question.
I do too.
It's Williams
sorry.
too. Okay.
Can it be done in two different manners for requesting elevations? That's the standards for elevation, east and west of the Mississippi? Or does it have to be the whole parish as a whole to apply for the elevation?
No,
value?
they're broken down, there's different segments within the parish, so they're analyzing all of those, and I don't know if you can pull that.
I think there's a question for Mr. Metcalf to be able to answer that, since he's our floodplain manager. And
Okay.
it's my understanding that we do not have to adopt the entire parish, that we can adopt inside the 100-year protection, and that's where I'm headed with this.
because, Councilman Roussel, that most of the studies that would have amendment effects on the map are happening outside the 1% annual or the 100-year floodplain, which is on the West Bank, for all intents and purposes, everything north of the flood protection wall. By adopting the flood maps in that 100-year floodplain on the West Bank, nothing would happen by adopting them early that wouldn't happen anyway. So to answer your question, they very well could be adopted in that area with no real effect at all. Because there's nothing, these studies that are going on are not happening, like LAMP, are not happening in that 1% annual or 100% floodplain or 100-year floodplain anyway. So by adopting them early, you really wouldn't have any adverse effect on the LAMP data collection or possible revisions anywhere else in the parish. So to answer your question, yes, you could adopt them.
And so by adopting those, then those maps would go into effect?
They would go into effect as
And
soon as the ordinance was passed.
The insurers will now utilize the new maps to issue rates?
Correct. That's
And-
correct. As soon as those maps are adopted in that area, in that partial adoption, those, the
let me
insurance
ask-
carriers would recognize that, and FEMA Region 6 immediately.
What I would like us to do is to, through the administration in your office, have a public meeting, have the ordinance prepared and introduced to adopt the flood maps inside the 100-year protection, so that all of those individuals can come to the meeting and see where they are affected, and that way we can move forward with adopting 100-year protection flood maps inside that basin.
Understood, and it's also important to say that by doing that partial adoption, the areas of the parish that are not in that area, in that partially adopted area, would not be affected one way or the other by that adoption either. So,
Right, and as much as I want to help the entire parish on flood relief on rates, I think we're missing the opportunity to not help those that are inside the flood protection area. And, you know, that's not disparaging on any other part of the parish, but I think it's time for us to move in that direction.
Thank you.
So could I ask the administration to work on that and do it in a quick fashion?
yes, sir.
You can prepare the ordinance?
Yes, sir.
And I'll be glad to introduce it at the next meeting, and we'll have a public hearing in between, or a public meeting at least.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier.
Ms. Williams, you had a question?
My question was for the lady with HNTB. I just want to verify that the LAMP analysis is looking at the entire parish.
No.
It's just a certain section, correct?
Just the area outside of the 100-year flood
But
protection.
for the entire parish, though, outside of the 100-year?
I believe that is correct. Is
Okay.
that correct? It's- Yes.
Yes? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at the table? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no.
Okay, we will move to item
Okay, I understand.
7H. Ms. Barbara, can you read 7H?
Public hearing on the request for a conditional use by Chevron Pipeline Company to construct an anchored lattice tower in a floodplain zoning district located in the Bohemia Spillway between Bohemia and Ostraker, Section 29, Township 19, South Range 16 East, East Bank, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number 2016-161, dated February 25th, 2016. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Councilmember Bartholomew, the public hearing is now open. You can make speak.
Hi, my name's Caroline Berta. I'm with Chevron Pipeline, and we're proposing a lids tower for fire protection at the Empire Terminal. So if we go to the next slide. The terminal is located on the west or the left ascending bank of the Mississippi River. If we go to the next slide. We're proposing to install the tower within our existing terminal infrastructure, and the red X on the map indicates where we're looking to install that tower. This is a close-up, so the tower is going to be 120 feet tall, and the fall radius will be 60 feet, and the way that works is that we've engineered a breakaway within the tower lattice. Next slide. So this is just a picture of what the tower would look like once it was installed. Next slide. And the tower is going to be anchored with helical anchors, and this is what the tower would look like once we've installed it. Are there any questions?
Are there any questions from the table?
And this is a conditional use in the floodplain?
Yes.
No problem.
None.
Any questions from the audience? Mr. Freeman?
So we're planning to install a camera, and the camera will help for fire protection at the terminal. No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Anyone else? If not, the public hearing is now closed.
Chairman, would like to revert to order, please, at this time.
We move to 6R. Barbara, will you read 6R?
A resolution approving the request for conditional use by Chevron Pipeline Company to construct an anchored lattice tower in a floodplain zoning district located in the Bohemia Spillway between Bohemia and Ostrager, Section 29, Township 19 South, Range 16 East, East Bank, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, all in accordance with application number 2016-161 dated February 25th, 2016.
Mr. Bartholomew, you offering?
I do.
I'll second. Any questions from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6R. And the resolution is granted 7-0. All right, anyone else? Or we'll move back. We'll revert
Whenever
back.
Chevron price goes up, don't forget to send a little donation to the recreational program, Plaquemines Parish.
I didn't understand a word he said.
Okay.
Councilman Bartholomew, would you repeat that?
No, I can't.
Okay. Maybe left unsaid. All right. We'll revert back to item 1A. There are no proclamations. Mr. Cormier, we'll move to C, status report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's always a pleasure taking a ride down the East Bank, see all of the activities that are taking place, the East Bank back levee. A lot of comments from people on the East Bank with the anticipation of the back levee and moving back and providing more people and more property taxes and so forth getting into commerce. So it's excited about that, and we appreciate the council moving forward on that East Bank back levee. Down by the courthouse, you can see that the jails have now been demolished, and the last thing is the relocation of the tower, which we anticipate will take place very soon. Moving to the West Bank, we had an RPC DOTD meeting at which time I recommended that we move forward with a 73-foot fixed bridge for the Belle Chase Tunnel, 5% grade, which is similar to Woodland Bridge going toward the Gall, and it will be a 4-lane. They had looked at 6% grade when that was rejected, and of course, the 100-foot bridge was rejected also. And it cost about $122 million, and that includes demolition. And unfortunately, it'll take probably 4 to 8 years. So hopefully we'll go toward the lower side before completion of the bridge takes place. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier. Any questions from the table?
I have one question. Are there any more change orders on the courthouse project yet?
Not that I'm aware of. Nothing has been brought forth by Linfield Hunter and Junius. There were some, I guess, up-to-date situations that they were taking place with the walls with Councilman Bartholomew. And so that's going to be the next issue after we get through with the demolition of the tower.
So,
I'm sorry, Ken. Ken, you have a statement?
On the first project, excuse me, the demolition project did have for the asbestos abatement, had $54,000. That's the only one I'm aware of.
okay, so I guess where I'm headed with this is that we got a breakdown of the expenditures on the courthouse fund, and before we move in any direction about more change orders, I would hope that we allow the contracts to take their place and proceed without issuing change orders unless it's an absolute emergency. So we'll know what we have at the end of the day. We still have to address a few issues with the funding that's remaining, and the last thing I want to see is that we complete the project and short on funds for other items, like furnishings, electronics, and those type of things.
I would prefer that, just like Mr. Roussel stated, that we follow the contract and then do it as was written, as we initiated, and then we dare come back to the council thereafter what the intention will be by the board. But we finish with the contract that has been signed.
All right. Anyone else? Questions from the table? Audience, Mr.
Yes. On the courthouse issue, I talked to Ken about this earlier, but I'd like you to explain to the people that once the construction on the courthouse starts, there will be construction insurance that will take care of building that courthouse, simply because if it's going to take 2 years to build, God forbid we have a hurricane and the project won't be able to be completed. So could you elaborate on that a little bit, sir?
The contract documents are right now under review with the administration and legal to make sure that the proper bonds and insurance are in place.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll move to item 2, bids and advertisements. We have none. Item 3, beer and liquor license. Mr. Bartholomew?
Have none.
Okay, Mr. Juno? I have none.
None.
I have none. Mr. Burt? Mr. Salvant? Ms. Williams? Thank you. Move to item 4, building permits. A, construction. Mr. Bartholomew, will you object to taking 1 and 2 in global?
No, no objection.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Barber, will you read 1 and 2?
4A1, Whitney Oil and Gas LLC, application number 2016-356, dated April 20, 2016, to install 8-inch flow line, Garden Island Bay Field, Councilmember Bartholomew. Number 2, Whitney Oil and Gas LLC, application number 2016-357, dated April 20, 2016, to install 8-inch flow line, Garden Island Bay Field, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. You offering?
Offer.
Or ask for a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Any questions on these 2 permits? Machine is open on item 4A, 1 and 2. And it's granted 7-0. Item B, I'm going to defer that. That's under Mr. Edgecombe. I don't know with his wishes. We'll move to item C.
Highway 23 Properties LLC, George Smith, fireworks stand renewal, 9418 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Juno.
As read.
It's been offered as read. Can I ask for a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Any questions? The machine is open on item C. And the permit is granted 7-0. Move to item 5, introductions of ordinance and resolutions. Mr. Bartholomew.
Yes.
Let him rip.
All right. An ordinance to amend as amended, readopt Rule 1 of Charter 1 of Section 2-17, the Code of Ordinance for Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, to establish a meeting of the Plaquemine Parish Council and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision for the property of Lionel Gilliard, Plaquemine Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the map of re-subdivision of the Greenwood Plantation into lots 1 and 2, McKay and Associate, dated December 29, 2015. The owner has fulfilled all the requirements of subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemine without cost to Plaquemine Parish government or the parish of Plaquemine, otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the emergency exception of the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Mr. Juno?
I have none.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Russo?
An ordinance to rescind, annul, and set aside ordinance number 16-24 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend and as amended readopt ordinance number 01-63 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution authorizing the parish president to sign any and all documents necessary to enter into an agreement in accordance with ordinance number 01-63 as amended with the Plaquemines Parish Recreation North Booster Club and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution expressing the Plaquemines Parish Council's support of continued action to reduce the Gulf of Mexico hypoxia zone and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And a resolution expressing the Plaquemines Parish Council's support of the Land, Water, and Conservation Fund and otherwise with respect thereto.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. I have a few. A resolution authorizing the parish president and the chairman of this council to sign the receipt and release of any and all applicable settlement documents necessary and proper to compromise and settle the payment of a portion of the outstanding judicial award owed pursuant to the final judgment in Lawrence S. Lemoyne versus Grayland Showtice, all 24 judicial number 719686, Division P, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation for the Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Department and to amend the General Fund 2016 Operating Revenue and Expenditure Budgets, Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a donation from the Plaquemines Parish District Attorney's Office and to amend the 5-year capital improvement plan for the Government Complex District Attorney's Building Project and 2016 General Fund Revenue Budget and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions, Plaquemines Parish government, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. I'm offering this on behalf of Mr. Black. A resolution authorizing and directing the Plaquemines Parish Development Board to conduct a public hearing to consider a text amendment of Section 3 definitions and Section 6 zoning regulations, paragraph A, B, A1, A2 rural or agricultural zoning districts, subsection 2, conditional uses of the Plaquemines Parish Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, ordinance number 142 as amended, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have. Mr. Burt?
I have one.
Okay.
An ordinance to rescind ordinance number 16-24 as amended and approved on March 10, 2016, and restore section 6, paragraph M, subparagraph 2 of ordinance 142 as amended by ordinance 16-24, the comprehensive zoning ordinance to its pre-amended state and condition and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you, Ms. Salvant.
I have none.
Thank you, Ms. Salvant. Ms. Williams?
I have one to offer on behalf of Councilmember Edgecombe. An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levy District to appropriate temporary work area easements, servitudes, and right-of-ways in certain portions of land in Plaquemines Parish Louisiana, to construct the Hurricane Protection System West Bank Non-Federal Levee Flood Wall, NOV-NF-W-4A.1, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee, flood wall, drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Is that it? Thank you, Ms. Williams. We'll now move to item 6A3.
An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levee District to appropriate a new perpetual flood protection levee flood wall and drainage ditch easement and temporary work area easements in certain portions of lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-NF-W-06B.3 West Point LaHash Gulf South Pipeline and Siphon T-Walls project in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee drainage, flood, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Alvant, you offering?
Yes, I'm offering as read.
I'll second it. Offer is read.
Yes.
Any questions from the table?
I'd just like to get an explanation about what this covers, what areas.
Yes, before we move forward, I would like Mr. Rittner to come up and give a thorough explanation of this
Mr. Rittner?
this project in the West Point LaHash area.
Again, Blair Rittner, Plaquemines Parish. Can you all hear me? This particular ordinance, there's two pieces of the project in the NOV. Obviously, it's a core project down in West Point LaHash where the siphons, right now the siphons are coming from the river into a little pond up in this area. And go to the next slide, please. Go to the next one. Okay, so what's happening is the siphons come from the river, come through here. What the Corps is planning on doing is building a concrete infrastructure to actually put gates on the siphon pipes themselves. And during a storm event, the parish would come in, close the gates to either prevent a siphon from the river or the backside levee, whichever level is higher at the time. There is some work they're going to build a T-wall, and then they're going to have a transition from a T-wall to a levee. Now, Ms. Audrey, we had a meeting originally. This path was coming through this piece of property through the request of your constituents, yourself and Mr. Cormier. The Corps has diverted it to the existing levee alignment, and then they'll cross over and tie into the levee that's going to be built between West Point LaHash and St. Jude. Go back one slide. That's this particular piece. This right here, Gulf Coast Pipeline, has two pipes that cross the highway and go under the river. And in order to put a pipeline either through a levee or over a levee, they've elected to build a T-wall and go through the T-wall. And these are two transitions going from an earthen levee to a T-wall. They typically have these transitions on all projects. You see the different colors. This particular project here is actually under construction right now. That's 6-4B. What they've done is went out and put a preload. They built the mud up, I don't know how high, 12, 15 feet in the air. And basically, they're letting that settle. That's under construction now. And then once, I think in October, this particular project is going to be turned over, and they'll make the federal levee come through here, through the T-wall. It will make a 90-degree turn and go west from here. And so it's two projects, construction projects, within one project 6B3, which is two structured projects. And there's approximately 3 landowners, we're, the parish being one of them. We own a piece of this property. There's 2 other landowners. On the other piece where the flood structure is, there's like 6 landowners, and we're one of the 6.
That's north of the Point Lahage Ferry, where the people live at in that area,
Yes.
in West Point Lahage
Yes, sir.
area.
Yes.
And where that dirt is, that's what we talking about, where we own that, where that surplus of soil we have stacked there north of that?
Yes, that's actually
All right.
on the other side of the highway. You're correct. You're correct. In fact, go one more slide. I'm glad you brought that up. Go another one. This piece exactly is what you're talking about. There's a road that goes to the levee, to the siphons right now. The parish owns this whole tract of land. This piece in green is actually going to be a temporary right-of-way for staging materials and construction. I'm glad you brought it up because actually that's a third piece of that. Any questions?
I'm supposed to say that.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Any questions? And audience? No? Yeah, I think you're off the hook.
Okay.
Thank you for that explanation. Machine is open on 6A3. And the ordinance is granted 7-0. Sorry. We move to item 6D.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Swimming Pools, Day Event Department, and the 2015 Manpower Structure and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You're offering with changes, Mr.
Offer with the changes.
And the changes have been passed out to everyone.
Everyone has the changes.
Excuse me. With the, you got it? You didn't get it? No? Okay.
You want me, let me go over it?
You want to go over it real quick? It just changes?
Changes, on line 11, towards the end, you say classified temporary,
Take that one.
and here's the number, well, that, and on line 17, instead of 20, it's 10,000. Line 23, draw the line through 528, 510, draw that all completely, line completely out. And on line 24, that's as is, and line 26, is that 20? Scratch out 500 and put 9,250. In line 27, scratch out 1,500, put 750. And on line 20, on line 30 and 31, the new, everything is deleted, and with the 2016 General Fund Manpower Structure Swimming Pool Day Event Department is amended by creating 10 classified temporary lifeguard positions. And section 3 was the number 3 is added to that.
All right, with those changes you're offering, we ask for a second. Second by Ms. Salvant.
I have a question.
Me too.
Where are the funds coming from?
It's already in the under professional service, under the pool, the event pool. And the money might not even be used for the event pool, but just in case it runs to that during the course of the summer, because we're going to use the money that we already have been approved under with the 50,000. But since the money was already attached as professional service, that money could be utilized if it comes to that come to that point.
Quick question, Mr. Bartholomew. What's the difference between this one and 6Q?
It was 20,000.
That was what? Q. Q is that lifeguards too? Are we funding those positions also? Or that has to come? Right, if we pass, do we have to go back to this and revert to this to implement them? That's correct? Well, I don't know. I mean, with 6Q, the finances tell me 6Q would probably have to be done first, because we,
All right, let's defer, we go to 6Q, then we come back to it.
okay. All right, Ms. Barber, will you read 6Q?
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Mr. Bartholomew, offering?
Offer.
I'll ask for a second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Salvan.
I have a question. Who's going to pay, where's the funds going to come in to get these lifeguards certified, and who's going to certify them?
As long as it don't go out.
YMCA gonna certify because 750.
Well, that's what we need to clear up right now.
The YMCA?
Yes.
What's the charge of what?
What?
How much, what's the cost?
$750, $75
For all
each.
10 of them?
Yeah.
$75 each?
Yeah,
I have an issue with this, Mr. Bartholomew.
that's fine.
My only concern is because we had this in place already. You know,
The
prior
whole-
to the YMCA, you requesting that you wanted to have $50,000 to fund a summer program, and the YMCA pulled
I
out.
did not say no swimming
Wait
pool.
a minute,
Miss-
wait a minute.
Wait, I'm gonna tell it straight.
Wait, one at a time.
She's talking about the swimming thing. That wasn't included. My intention was to deal with recreational program only because the kids did not have, no parents had any kind of money to send their kids to the recreational program. And we took $50,000 out of the money that Plaquemines Parish government gave the YMCA, who refused to do this thing whole harmless with the people on this side of the river because there is no money, no jobs, no nothing going on at the time. Now, if the Y would have did that, there'd been no problem whatsoever. And I've had several meetings with them concerning that. So that's how that came to pass. And the year prior to that, we didn't even have the pool open. So that means the Y had $300,000 to take care of Davant, Port Sulphur, and Buras. That's including the swimming pools, the lifeguards, and everything else. The only thing they didn't cover was the maintenance and operation expenditures of the pool. The parish maintained that. Now, this year, the only thing they're doing is Port Sulphur and Buras for $250,000. And I have $50,000 to take care of this community. So where is the money being put? In Buras, and in Port Sulphur, $250,000. And you concerned about 50,000?
No, my only concern is they provided this service, and when we had the budget hearing, I
I'll
asked
tell
you.
you what, if you think, go ahead.
No, my,
Let her speak.
it's
let
just,
you
it's, my only concern is that whenever we decided to remove them from the Davant community, you said that you could do the programs, including the pool, with the $50,000. That's my only concern.
I didn't tell you that. I did not say that.
Okay.
I said the recreational program, the summer program. But the Y came one day, and I'm going to get it right now on the table and get it all straight. They came and said they was going to move their stuff out. And with that in mind, they start taking this, that, and everything else, and then it said that they were going to remove all the weights out the room. So 2 weeks later, I sent a letter to Mr. Gravely. I said, when will you move your stuff out of the weight room so we can try to get some more weight in? Now, and that's what happened. I didn't tell them to leave. They decided that themselves. Now, frankly, all those things was raised in the name of Davant Community Center. So to me, that's some kind of violation when you refuse to leave things what they was originally intended to be for. They moved those things out. That might be a violation.
Well,
But the Legacy Foundation, because if you look at the charter, what it stated that these things will be funded with the Legacy Foundation for each community center. And it has been. And they removed it so that it became a false pretense, as far as I'm concerned, by removing it. And I did not suggest that they removed it. They remove anything. The only thing I suggest and was adamant about that the kids could not come to recreation because they didn't have anything going on in this area for people to work, to supply them the money to participate. That's all I asked for.
okay.
But they refused to leave. Not John Bartholomew made them leave.
Okay, I don't want to have a debate with you. I'm just,
That's
you
not
know,
a debatable, I'm not debating, I'm just telling you the facts.
okay.
Tell me how you really feel, John. Cut the tension here a little bit. Tell me how you really feel, John. But
Well, I'm just saying, the whole thing in a nutshell was to be able to do a program. Now, we may have enough, but I'm not sure that we will have enough money to pay the complete salary for the 12 weeks for the lifeguard. And I just want to make sure we got something that's already in the budget. I'm not asking for any additional monies to put in that $50,000. That stays in the operational budget. That does not come to that. And if there is no money needed, there will not be spent. But the thing is, I guarantee you, we will have a recreational program, like I intended from Jump Street. But in the meantime, since they're left, we have to absorb the responsibility of getting the pool and stuff organized. And that's what I've been doing. And I thank for the support of the president and also the lady that's going to do the training from the Y. Very supportive of that, and I appreciate that very much. And that means they're at least trying to make it happen. And all I'm saying is to make sure we can cover the whole program for the 12 weeks with the pool. Everything else is covered.
In addition to that, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say that Mr. Bartholomew is absolutely correct. As recent as last year, $100,000 was remaining in the legacy budget, and that money went to the Belle Chase Y to build a gymnasium. So if we talk in fairness, it wasn't done fair. It wasn't done fairly at all. So I support Mr. Bartholomew program 100%. Thank you.
Will these lifeguards fall under recreation?
They'll be coming under the auspices of the volunteer fire department, probably will be monitoring, but all the rules and regulations will be done by them. They will follow through the certification of the lifeguards, and those things will be done. The schedule will be done by the volunteer, not volunteer, but the person who will be in charge of the pool to set up the schedules and everything else. And the schedule will be that we will not have 10 people working at the pool every day, and that means you give 10 kids an opportunity to make some money on the East Bank during the summer.
Mr. Bartholomew, if this legislation would fail today, would the pool open?
Yes. I don't know if it'll stay the whole summer, but it will open.
Because we have monies in place for some of the lifeguards. This is just to extend it after the 12-week program. Is that
No,
correct?
no. It's
Okay.
not to extend. You got this whole thing all wrong. We're trying to complete the 12 weeks. June, July, and August till Labor Day. It may end in July. All depends on what time school opens. We'll close the program. Then it may just be open on weekends during that time, just on weekends, till it's time to close.
Okay, again, I guess my point is, if it fails, you still have monies in place to use, or what you said it was still open? We don't have any lifeguard.
Well, no, if the lifeguard don't pass, I mean, we won't have them.
Okay, well, I just said if it fails, will the pool?
I don't know what you're talking about. You talking about this?
Yeah.
What we talking about now?
Yeah, if this legislation fails, will the pool still open?
How you going without no lifeguards?
That's what I just asked, and you just said yes.
I'm talking about the money situation. That doesn't take no rocket science to figure it out. You can answer that one for
Well,
yourself.
I'm asking you because you keep saying about the 12 weeks extra.
I'm talking about the operational program,
Okay.
man. I'm not talking about the employees. If you ain't got the employees, how you gonna work? Can't perform the duties
Did
without
it
the
open
employees.
last? Did it open last year?
No.
Under the Y, it didn't open. Okay. Mr. Henry?
Yes. I think it's a vital thing here. Mr. Bartholomew, you all said to me, this would include kids from the West Bank also, right? Yeah, all on the, and I preach this all the time. All kids can't afford to go to the Y. So this is a program where it could benefit all the kids who can't afford it. And I think it's worthwhile. And guess what? Each one of y'all districts have poor people.
Program will be designed to accommodate all the kids who cannot afford doing 5 days a week at no expenses. If they can't afford to go anywhere else, they can come over here and swim. They can participate in the recreation program, providing they don't overpopulate the employees that we will have to maintain the day-to-day operation for the summer recreational program. But as far as the pool is concerned, If you're in a recreational program, you swim free all day. But weekends going to be different because there's no recreation during weekends. That means everybody going to come and use the pool going to have to pay.
Any other questions? Question's been called. Machine is open. It's granted 5-1 with one abstention from, one no vote from District 9 and District 6 abstention.
I want to thank you on behalf of the children on the East Bank, for those of you all that voted for it, and I pray for the rest of us.
Now will we revert back to item 6D? Is that right? Yeah. It already has been offered with changes. It has been seconded. Are there any other questions? Okay. Call the question. The machine's open. And it passes 6-0, one abstention, District 6. All right, J. We'll move to item 6J.
A resolution authorizing the parish president Amos J. Cormier Jr. to enter into an agreement with the Point Lahash Volunteer Fire Department relative to the operation of the Day Event Swimming Pool and the Summer Recreation Program, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes.
Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Juneau. Mr. Bartholomew?
It is a cooperative agreement, like we do everything else. Make sure it works.
Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open on 6J. Okay, well, machine, he's present, not voting. It's passed it's granted 6-0, the resolution. Move to item 6L.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 General Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Maintenance Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Bartholomew? Yes. Ask for a second. I'll ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Russo.
Let's have some discussion on these items.
Discussion only or just?
No, I offered it for the purpose of
Okay.
passing, but
All right.
or discussion.
We'll open discussion.
You know, currently we're in a hiring freeze mode, and we have to make some decisions, and I know that the floodgates seem to be opening up to allow more positions to be exempt from the hiring freeze. Reverend Giles contacted me concerning this electrician position, and he makes a case that if we don't hire this electrician, that we will have to start contracting out for contractors because we have no electricians on the payroll. Is that correct? Correct. So as we squeeze the budget down and as we start eliminating unfunded positions, we have to come up with a priority as to how are we going to handle this payroll. And in that priority, we're going to have to weigh the effects of what we do of having no electrician to come to our buildings to fix it versus we hire a contractor, which is my understanding it would cost us a lot more. So I realize that by seconding this and putting it up for a vote, it will open the doors, and I don't really like to be in a position of picking and choosing, but I guess that's what we're elected to do and set priorities. And as we said at the PAB meeting, or at least as I said at the PAB meeting yesterday, or whenever it was, that it's our responsibility and job to sit here and balance the budget and deal with the issues. I appreciate PAB's effort to help us with the budget. They became knowledgeable of the budget. They understand where the shortfalls are. I would encourage them to continue to work on the budget, but come back with some recommendations as to what they think we should do in the shortfall. But today, the payroll is going to be something of importance to all of us to be able to make the right decision. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to vote for exempting all positions to the hiring freeze, but in this case, I think the case was well justified because of the fact that we have no electrician, and we would not want to have to be in a position to have a contractor come out and cost us more. And with that, I'd like to invite anybody else to chime in.
Reverend Giles, the position will be reinserted. Would the same individual be inserted?
He's going to be offered a position because he went through.
He was the electrician.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
And he had to go through some classes that he completed. So we're trying to keep it in-house, so we don't have to go out and start all over again. But everything he was required to do, he did.
My main concern, and I'm not going to put a lot of information out there, but we rehire this gentleman again, do we re-encounter more issues?
Well, we have some things in place to monitor that, and that's going to be on a daily basis, maybe weekly.
Right. I'm not here to judge anyone. I'm just here to say, well, are we going to be back at the table 6 months later because something happened and we need another electrician? And
well, it's really we need an electrician.
I agree.
He is a master electrician, and at the price what we're offering, it's going to be hard for us to get someone else. Now we could offer it throughout the parish, but there's no one on the payroll currently who is an electrician. Maybe when we do it in-house, if we have someone who is licensed and they step up, we may not have to offer him the job. But right now, we're at a position where either we have to outsource it to a contractor or offer it to him or someone else.
And that's what we're currently doing now, because we don't have an electrician?
Well, right now, everything is on hold as it pertains to electrical work, unless it's something real minor.
Right.
Because I'm asking the maintenance department not to indulge in big-time stuff. I don't want anyone to get electrocuted, then we're liable for that.
Please.
Yeah. So that's the problem we're having right now.
Okay. I mean, I support it. I know we need electricity, absolutely, and
Yes.
it's a good deal. I'm aware and concerned of the individual that has had
Yes.
some
And
issues in the past.
That's why I sent each and every one of you the email so you can read it
Absolutely.
and see what we justify why we're trying to do this.
Okay.
And let me just say this. I'm not sitting here trying to pick employees. You know, that's not my responsibility to hire and fire, and that's the administration hire and fire, even though we have disagreements about the fire part. I think it is their responsibility. And so I'm not here guiding you in any direction to hire any individual other than the bare facts that we need an electrician, and this would serve that purpose. So I don't know the individual, never heard about the individual, don't care about the individual. It's strictly a need for the maintenance department, for me.
Thank you.
Speaking of maintenance,
Mr. Byrd?
can any of your maintenance guys perform any electrical work? Typically, maintenance folks do have electrical background and certification.
No, we have carpenters and plumbers, but we only have one electrician, and that, unfortunately, he is no longer with us right now. And we only have about maybe 8 guys and two young ladies who are painters. So we don't have an influx of employees in that department.
Okay.
Reverend Giles?
Yes, sir.
For the salary we offer them, if we have to call in an electrician for 3 weeks, it would overtake the salary.
Yes.
People charge anywhere from $75 to $125 an hour.
Yes.
So I think if we have to do this to save some money.
Well, we had got some quotes from some electricians, and that's why I presented it to you, because I wasn't going to authorize paying $150 an hour just to troubleshoot. So that's why I presented it to the council for discussion.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the table?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, administration would just like to say that priority would be safety and health, and of course, dealing with the electrician, that would certainly come under safety. The administration has released, I would remind everybody, I'll use the word released, all directors and everybody except one on the legal staff to come in. So we don't have a problem with releasing people, provided we think it's justified.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm glad we come to terms on that.
Find some common ground. All right, anyone from the audience? Machine is open on 6. Okay, Al, sorry. And the ordinance is granted 7-0. All right, we'll move to 6M.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offering, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, that's in support of the electrician.
Okay.
Off.
Any questions?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Any questions? I'm sorry. Audience? Machine's open on 6M.
My only comment is in the future, when we do these,
That should have done
let's
first.
put the funding and the exception in the same ordinance, and we'll save money on the minutes.
And it's granted 7-0. I'm sorry. We'll move to 6N.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 Library Services Fund manpower structure and operating expenditure budget, Library Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offer.
Offer, Mr. Bartholomew. Ask for second. Ask for second. I'll ask for a second, third time. Legislation fails without lack of a second. Move to 6O.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes,
I'll second it. Mr. Bartholomew? Offer is read. Offer is read? I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
offer is read.
Miss Angie, I just want clarification. These will be removed from the general fund and put under the solid waste fund, these positions?
These are positions that are vacant, and they require you to make an exception to the hiring freeze.
Okay, but then they're existing under the sanitation department, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I don't think we have any bookmobile operators operating under the sanitation department.
No, that's in the library department. You have the automated truck, the truck driver, and the cherry picker.
Let me ask you, we're on item O. Is that what we're on? The parish council hereby authorizes an emergency exception to the hiring freeze for the following items: automated truck driver 2, cherry picker, bookmobile operator.
Correct.
So, I mean, they're not under solid waste now.
The library ones are not, that's correct.
No.
Are they going to be transferred from one department to another?
Are you talking about the positions?
Yeah, the people.
They're in the department. The first 3 are in the solid waste disposal department. The second 2 are in the library department.
I
Those are
understand.
positions, not people.
Okay, correct,
And the bookmobile operator, one of them just died for lack of a second.
correct. This should have come before the amendments.
There we go, it should have came before that.
Well, let me ask you this.
Let me remove my second. Okay. I remove my second. And do
Okay.
you want to eliminate line 19 and 20?
Up to the administration, y'all want to eliminate 19 and 20?
We need solid waste here.
Well, isn't the intention of this is my understanding, is to move
Let's,
the...
hold on. Can we bring discussion, please, so
Oh,
we
my
be
son.
legal?
Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
open up, you've been offered, I'll second it for discussion.
Now, Ms. Williams.
Okay, I'm sorry. Isn't the intent, it's my understanding that the intent of this is to move these positions out of the general fund into the solid waste and library funds, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
These positions are occupied already, or are they vacant?
I think they're vacant, huh?
They're vacant.
No.
So we're looking to move people that may potentially lose jobs
That is my understanding.
into these self-supporting
Into these
funds.
self-supporting funds, correct.
Okay.
Well,
Staff these departments?
we got
And are
to
these needed? That's the next
we
question.
got to look at what's going on here. To me, the emergency exception is an automated truck driver, a truck driver 2, and a cherry picker. Now, those positions, in my understanding, and the 2 bookmobile operators naturally, which, did we remove them?
Not yet.
Not yet. My understanding is that these solid waste north and south positions are already in the workforce. They may be vacant positions, correct?
Yes, sir. One is not funded at this time. If you go to... If you look at P,
Yes, that's what we're doing. Yes.
that is unbudgeted at this time. It would require you to adopt this to place the funds in.
But the others are funded.
Yes, sir.
The automated truck driver, the truck driver 2, and the cherry picker,
Truck driver 2, yes. And yes, the automated truck driver. The
and
cherry picker was the only one that was unbudgeted at this time. Yes, sir.
You can take that out.
well, I think that what we need to do is
Let's get it written correctly.
get this cleared that,
Within dying from lack of a second, it would make sense to take the bookmobile operators off. Yes,
correct?
sir.
But at the same time, what I don't want to see us do, and I understand Ms. Williams's question about, are we moving people out of other positions into enterprise fund positions because there's money there? Because that's not my intention to support that, because we raise the fees to break even.
Yes, sir.
And so there's no way that we should be packing that payroll because of the fees that we've increased on the public.
Yes, sir.
This doesn't do that.
Yes, it does. Yes, sir.
I thought you said that the automated truck driver and the truck driver 2, they're coming out of another department?
No, sir.
It's,
Where
Well,
are they coming from? Can we defer?
well, let me just say this right quick. The automated truck driver, I had a guy 2 weeks ago who resigned. And so we don't have, that position is vacant right now.
Okay.
But as far as the cherry pick operator and the 2 bookmobile operators, if you just want to eliminate that, that's fine. But there is a need in solid waste north. Like I said, the guy, 2 weeks ago, the guy resigned.
I know, but we're trying to get, I think we got 2 issues here that we need to separate. One of them is that we had the solid waste department, and they have vacancies, and
That's
they are funded.
That's correct.
And we all believe that the solid waste department continues or needs to continue to operate. So then we need to address those 2 positions. But the question about moving people from other departments into the solid waste department is not addressed in this ordinance, correct?
That's correct. And that was the intent, and be it right or wrong, that was the intent to kind of help a person who may be losing a job. That was the original intent. But then in that process, we had some people who did resign. So now there's a need for those positions.
Right, so it goes back to how we're going to operate. And so if we have people who are in other departments and we have vacancies that pop up in the enterprise fund department like the solid waste, then yeah, it makes sense to laterally transfer them. But not to pack the department with more people than we have currently.
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
We are all on the same page?
Correct.
I have a question. If someone just retired or resigned, that particular position or that person wasn't part of the legislation when we put a hire and freeze on. What does that mean? I mean, do we have to go back and amend anything? Amend it? The hire and freeze, even though it wasn't part of the original ordinance that was done?
In my opinion, the ordinance that created the hiring freeze is across the board. And no matter what, who's there and who's not there.
But you're hiring to replace that person, so the freeze is still on.
I understand that, but I'm saying it was never part of the original bill when we did the population, or the people that we, jobs that we put a freeze on.
But
But all the jobs that was frozen.
But we didn't specify what jobs were frozen. We said there's a freeze. So getting back to this ordinance, you need an automated truck driver because you lost somebody.
That is correct.
And the truck driver too,
That is correct.
you lost somebody.
That is correct.
The cherry picker operator,
We're good. What happened with the cherry pick operator, we could take that off because I had a guy a few months ago who had got promoted to that position, but we never gave him we never gave him the promotion based on the freeze. So if we had to, we could move him up to that position, but because everything was frozen, we didn't move him up. And so because we didn't move him up, he's still a truck driver. So there was no need to fill his position.
okay,
All
so
right, you want to take your second back?
you did.
Yeah.
Do you want to offer?
I'd like to offer with the amendments that we eliminate
Lines 18,
Changes?
19, and 20.
changes, eliminate line item 18, 19, and 20.
18, 19, and 20. With that.
With that, I'd like to offer.
And I'll second it. Now, any other questions? Audience? Machine is open on 6-0. And it is granted 7-0, 7-0. Move to 6P.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 Solid Waste Disposal Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Solid Waste District 2 Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Withdraw it.
Withdraw. Withdraw. I'm sorry, I was thinking the same thing. 6P is withdrawn. We'll go to 6Q. We did 6Q, I'm sorry. So we did 6R. 6. Huh? We've got to withdraw 6S.
Yeah.
Okay. And Y. We'll move to item 6Y.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, permit New Myrtle Grove Pump Station Project, and the acquisition of Lurds-NOV from Oakville to Venice Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offering, Ms. Salvant. We'll ask for a second.
Offer as read.
I need a second. Hold on. Ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bartholomew. Ms. Salvant's offer is read.
Yes, Council, you may notice that was legislation on the agenda regarding this issue, and it was withdrawn because of the fact of this legislation here. That was some discussion back in the past that the community of Myrtle Grove was having an issue with the discharge of the pumping station. The request of that community was to discharge that pumping station into the marsh rather than the Wilkinson Canal. And that kind of evolved into a lengthy discussion. So my whole intent here is to just make a perhaps wrong situation better. I'm in total disagreement with the levee projects that's going on in those areas, but in hindsight, when you look at all of the funding and the revenues that have been invested in the last 7-8 years into the design of those levees, it would be almost suicide to stop these projects or readdress those projects. is disheartening to know that, we continually have to, I continually have to go back and address issues of the past and what I call our sins of the past that brings us here today. It's almost as if these levee projects was put in place to protect any and everything except people. And I thought that was the whole purpose of it. And it just behooves me to see what's happening in my immediate district. The Wood Park area, those folks are going to be, the terms that they use, that they're going to feel as though they're going to be caged. They're going to be on the opposite side of levee protection with a T-wall. The Myrtle Grove area, some of the same issues arise. And my heart just goes out to the community, my own community that was inundated by the river, by Katrina on a river levee. There is no protection there. So my heart is heavy laden. So when the cry from the community came out about at least the smallest thing, that it was on top of not getting the proper protection that they felt they deserved, they were being inundated with orders in the community. They couldn't access and enjoy their retirement homes. So my thought was, the least I can do, rather than going back and address redirecting the levee projects, I called upon Mr. Rittner and asked him, we need to meet with the finance. We need to come up with some funding. The least we can do is redirect the discharge of that pump station, and this is where we are here today. And I'm going to ask Mr. Rittner to go ahead and take it from this point on.
I have one question before Mr. Rittner speaks. The $60,000 that's being appropriated, what is that for?
Right now, what's going to happen, can y'all hear me? I'm sorry. Right now, we need to apply for a permit, a coastal use permit. There's going to probably be a level of engineering that's going to be required. Right now, I have no dollars. I mean, I was told we should be in the ballpark with $60,000. But what's happening, let me explain the project real quick. The Corps is very close to completing a pump station in Myrtle Grove. We're about 2 to 3 months out. Right now, the discharge of the pump station comes out into the basin drainage, and it's planned they're going to demo the existing station, and the water is going to be pumped back into the Myrtle Grove Canal. And what our plans are is, as it comes out of the station, instead of going out into the canal, there's a bay right here. Okay, and what we want to do is put a cut in the levee, the existing levee, and discharge all of the water into the bay instead of trying to pump it into the canal. As y'all know, you've heard Mr. Lawrence many times at the council over the last few years, when we get a heavy rainfall, all of the water is going into the canal. If the tide has fallen, we don't have much of a problem. But when the tide is incoming, it backs up all of that material into the neighborhood. So the request for the funding is for us to design and get probably a coastal use permit. It may require a Section 10 and a Section 404 from the Army Corps of Engineers. We're hoping that DNR will grant permission through the coastal use and allow us to just change the course of the water flow to give the Myrtle Grove residents some relief on the discharge.
Thank you, Mr.
I have another question. I saw another drawing that was a little bit different from that, that already had a section already cut and designed.
Yes, you're correct. Right now, the cut that the Corps designed is about up in here. Okay, there's a 72-foot cut in what happened is there was a coastal project, I think when they dredged out the Myrtle Grove Canal, they actually put the spoil material in this area. And what happened is the cut would go straight into the material. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting with the residents of Myrtle Grove, and we asked the Corps to place the cut here. Now, the difference is from what the Corps is telling me, is the cut is going to be at a minus 1 foot elevation. Now, right now, presently, this drainage canal goes to this pump station and pumped out. This canal is at an elevation today at a minus 5 feet, okay? And what's going to happen is the Corps is going to fill this canal in. The new drainage is going to come into here to the pump and discharged out here into the Wilkerson Canal. So what the ask was to move the cut here, but the cut is only to inundate the canal. We're going to go from, I'm very sorry, we're going to go from a minus 5 feet to the existing current tide, which could be a +1, +1.5. So they're going to inundate the canal with 6.5 feet of water, and they want to slowly let that in. They just don't want to open up the levee and say, let it rip, you know. So, so what we are going to do is try to keep that cut that the Corps is going to make. We'll probably have a level of engineering. We want to get that lowered a little bit, and then let all of the discharge out of the pump station go into that bay.
Mr. Black, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So we will have a problem only during the high tide. With the discharge, if it rains and stuff coming over, will it increase in that canal?
Actually, no, right now.
I'm talking about when you pump.
Let's say in 2 months, 3 months, when they turn the new pump station over to us, this portion of the canal is going to be at tide level, whatever the tide is, +1, +2, whatever. That's going to remain always. Once the station's turned over, this will no longer be at a -5. It will always be at tide level. And again, that tide fluctuates.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So whenever you have a monsoon or rain or something like that, that will increase that canal?
No, because the suction side is going to remain at a -5. So the inlet coming to the pump is at a -5. The outlet will be at tide level.
I'm not talking about the water in the canal. I'm talking about once you're pumping it into the other canal, an outfall canal.
The outfall, you're saying? Yeah, I mean, whatever the tide is. I mean, we don't normally change the level of the tide pumping for 500 CFS.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
I have a question. The 60,000 that's being allocated, is that just going to be for permitting, or is that going to include construction?
Well, what we plan
design?
on doing is, the level of construction, Ms. Nicole, Ms. Williams, is very little. Earlier, we were talking about building a levee across the canal, but Mr. Dugas says if we can get there's a sheet pile wall where the pump station is, we're going to request that the Corps leave that eye wall in, so this whole area will remain. Ken, correct me if I'm saying something outside, but this whole area will remain as is, except this eye wall will stay, and all we're going to do is force the water through the levee into the bay.
So this is mainly for all the permits and,
It's permitting, and we're going to do the construction in-house.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay, thank you.
Stanley Wallace will handle that.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Anyone else from the table?
Yeah, what engineering firm you have working on this?
Right now, we don't have any. Mr. Dugas is going to,
We haven't received any proposals at this time.
And so the proposal will be for a permit and whatever it takes?
We're going to have to do some sort of hydraulic analysis to see the cut through the levee, how it affects the efficiency of the new pump. So we just want to make sure that if we make a cut at a certain elevation, it doesn't back up water on us on the backside.
Those pumps don't have backflow preventers in them?
they do, but that's not the purpose. What has to happen is the new pumps are going to be much, much more efficient than what we have.
I know, but what you just said, that if that pump station is designed for hurricane strength, and it doesn't have a backflow preventer, if it does have one,
Right.
just pumping into that canal versus a hurricane tide surge, you don't think those backflow preventers can handle that?
Well, the backflow preventers, what happens is, let's say we have an approaching storm. We pumping down the interior of this area. And at some point, and you recall during Hurricane Katrina, we went to a point and we said, okay, shut the pumps down. When they shut the pumps down, the backflow preventers close. And what that allows is the tide on the outside doesn't let water in like we've saw in a couple of stations. So that's the purpose of the backflow. What we're discussing here is we're going to be pumping. In other words, everything's going to be open, water's going to be going straight into that bay.
Hey, I'm in a meeting right now, you have to call me back.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
One more comment, Chairman.
Mr. Dugan?
We just don't want to see more damage done by making too small of a cut through the levee. So we'd like to have somebody come in, and I don't have a proposal to tell you what that's going to cost. It could be 10 grand, it could be 20 grand. I don't know with the surveying, anything that would come across with that. There shouldn't be any surveying at this time. But there will be a fee for the permitting. There will have some sort of drawings that go accompany that. So there will be some sort of a cost. If y'all will let me, if we can get this vote today and get a budget established, we can receive proposals, bring it to the administration, and we'll make a decision on how we proceed. But we're all in favor of stopping the water from going into Wilkinson Canal and going into the bay. We just want to do it smart. We want to make sure we protect the environment, make sure we don't cause more harm to private property and such.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to add is, I don't know exactly the CFS, the cubic feet per second that these pumps put out, but let's say it's 500 CFS. We have to make sure the opening that we provide can withstand 500 CFS. I don't want to do a napkin-type design and then have water coming over the levee system because of it.
Okay. Any more questions? Audience?
Yes, Warren Lawrence, Myrtle Grove. And this is a 8-year-old ongoing thing, and they talk about the sins of the past. And this is all parts of the sins of the past. And to correct some things that Mr. Redner said was that in the design, and I happened to meet with Mr. Burt and showed him, the Corps has designed a cut in that levee, a 72-foot wide cut. It was put in the wrong location. We met before the Corps ourselves, and Colonel Hanson agreed that that cut could not be put where they designed it, and that's all we asked, for the cut to be moved in line with the discharge from the new station. To ask questions now that you got to redesign that 72-foot cut. The original cut was designed not just to equalize the levee, the level of the water. It was designed to handle that new station at an operational stage because it had to be designed because during the period of time they were demolishing the old station, the new station becomes fully operational. So the Corps designed a cut that station could design and be used while the other station is offline. It's just the idea of relocating the location of it to where it's in line and goes into that bay. You know, the questions asked, and my question on this particular instance is this $60,000 just on the Myrtle Grove pumping station? And what is the part and the acquisition of Lurds? What is that in addition to the permit? There is no permit fee for DEQ. We've been told all along that they only needed a permit. Even Colonel Hanson at that meeting said the parish gets the permit from DEQ. We never heard about DNR. Today we're hearing about DNR and all the other agencies we got to jump through hoops with. If this is going to do it and give us any kind of on-site that this is going to be done, fine, let's put up the $60,000. My question when I asked the first time I met her, and she's not here, she's already left, Miss Melissa Kennedy, this is the consultant working on it. And she told me today, it's going into the Wilkerson. You know, and I'm saying, we got to get something straight. She says, I'll guarantee you, it's going into the Wilkerson. Well, if we're going to go into the Wilkerson anyway, don't even spend the $60,000. Now, this is the consultant that's working on this project. First time I met her today. And, you know, is the $60,000 strictly for the Myrtle Grove? Nothing to do with what is this acquisition of Lurds?
Well, there's a budget for LERDs. And
Okay.
all we doing is, I can't appropriate new monies, so we asking to use it, take it out of that fund and use it for the permitting and engineering.
Okay.
And-
I
and-
guess I'm confused when you say
Right.
you got $60,000 for the permit,
Well, I mean.
and you're not defining what permit it's for.
Well, again, Mr. Lawrence, you know, I'm hoping that we don't have to do a 408 permit, okay? But right now, I mean, there's a Section 10, Section 404 that may have to be done. I can't tell you until they bring it to DNR to let them say something.
And I guess this goes back when you were with Mr. Billy Nungesser, and this has been addressed for his whole period of time he's in. And we still on the same thing and have not got an answer. And if you wonder why the people are disgusted, you know, on what's happening with that discharge and them homes sitting right at the existing pumping station. I spent 3 days in the hospital from being contaminated from that pumping station. And right now, we're sitting here and being told, give me a positive answer that it's going to go into the bank. Can you give me a positive answer? If you spend $60,000, we're going to get it in the bank?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Right now, the Corps cannot make this area a permanent discharge. The reason is they not changing the course of the drainage. Their whole point is, it was always designed to go out here. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when Julie LeBlanc was the project manager, we asked, because of you, could you possibly discharge
Julie
this
say?
out? Julie said she didn't see a problem.
You're right.
There is an environmental.
let it
but
sit
wait.
Gentlemen, we're not going to go back.
I know.
Okay.
I don't want to argue.
I think you
the
belabored
issue.
the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's-
So our ask is to let us move forward, grant us the move of the dollars. We're going to proceed with permitting, get some level of design to go ahead and permanently discharge the water into the bay
Okay.
as
Well,
they
give us
want.
A time schedule. A time schedule.
Okay.
Can we get a time schedule?
Mr. Dugas, I'll let you develop the time schedule.
Do we have a time schedule?
I'll try to get some proposals for tomorrow and see if we can get some dollar amounts, bring before the administration for Monday morning.
All right.
Okay. Can we get a copy of that application?
Could we get a copy of that application?
Once it's developed, I will bring it to the administration, and they can distribute it accordingly.
Once it gets from administration? Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
And Mr. Chairman, we'd just like to add, the administration concurs with Mr. Lawrence, you know, just from a safety factor, as he said, we know his situation with health and possibly other health situations that might occur with this E. coli in that particular area.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Conklin.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? The machine is open on 6Y. Oh, hold on. We got, okay. Wait, can you clear the machine? All right, now the machine is open on 6Y. And it's granted 7-0. Move to 6Z.
A resolution amending and as amended readopt Resolution Number 15-213, which created the Plaquemines Recreation Advisory Committee and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Ms. Williams?
Yes, I do.
I'll second it.
This is just a resolution listing the duties and guidelines of the Recreation Advisory Committee. It is my intent to, once this passes today, to set up the first committee meeting as early as next week and go from there so they can begin working with Mr. Freeman with every intent of improving the recreational programs in our parish.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions from the table?
Yes.
Ms. Salvant?
Yes, my question is to Mr. Freeman. Mr. Freeman, could you give us your overview of this committee and this legislation?
Ms. Salvant, I'm at the will of Mr. Cormier and at whatever y'all decide to do. And my overview before really didn't make a difference as far as the statement I made. So I yield to Ms. Nicole and her ideas, and if it's implemented, it's implemented, and we'll take it from there.
I guess that's the answer, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6Z. Up. And it's granted 6-1 with a no vote from District 1. Hold
Thank
on,
you.
I don't have the secretary right now. Can you? All right, would you read 6AA?
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the construction, Boothville/Venice Community Center project and the 2016 general fund revenue budget and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Ms. Williams?
Yes, I do.
Ask for a second. Second? I'll second it.
This is just to accept insurance proceeds from one of the defendants in the suit that we had for the Boothville Venice Community Center. This, a check was received for $472,300. And this is the first of the proceeds that we're going to be receiving.
Okay.
Can I say?
Question?
Yes, are we $1 million short on this?
No, there was a meeting last week. We're not short at all. There was a meeting last week between myself, Mr. Cormier, and the engineers that are, and we're going to make do with the money that we received to get the project done.
But it is $1 million short from what they did say. Am I correct?
No, I'm waiting to receive the final judgment, a copy of the judgment, to actually see what the judge ruled.
Okay, because I remember the little guy telling us we got everything in. You know, that's what he said, that, you know, he told us that.
Right, and I've contacted them because I want a copy of the judgment so I can see what the judge ruled and when we should be receiving those funds.
So,
Go ahead, Mr.
so let me ask, what is the game plan right now? Were you going to put this in a fund and it's going to stay there? And are we going to have to re-engineer the building, or what are we going to have to do to make it right?
Yes, the building has to be, a design has been proposed, and it was going to FEMA for approval, and once FEMA approves it, then we'll begin drawings, and
So-
the building's going to have to be torn down completely.
So this building, that's what I was going to ask next. So
Yes.
we're going to have to tear down the entire Boothville Community Center and
Yes.
start from ground up.
An approximate timeline, I was told, is 2 years, 2 to 2.5 years
You know,
from
that-
now.
That's incredible to think that we spent millions of dollars on a building that never saw the light of day or one constituent visited, and now we're going to have to tear it down and start over. That is incredible to me. And, I mean, I don't know what to say about it.
It's a
you know,
very sad situation, Mr. Roussel. It's sad that it's sad that it happened the way it did, and it took so long to come to light and to even finally.
And so
No.
now, how much engineering you think it's going to cost us to rebuild this, to redesign this? Is it going to be the similar design or what?
It's going to be similar. The inside is going to be a little different. It's going to be, I feel, a better design. The anticipated cost is $4.6
$1 million for
Yes.
construction?
total.
And so how much of that would be engineering cost? Are they going to do the regular curve, or are we going to save some money on engineering? Or are we going to just do the whole thing over again and let another $4.6 million be based on the engineering curve, which means, $460,000 or more, $500,000 on engineering fees? Mr. Engineer?
We'd have to check the contract that we had signed through the administration to see how it was based. I don't have that information with me at this time.
So you don't know if it's a flat fee or the curve?
I don't recall.
I think those things are important when we are tearing down a public building that costs millions of dollars and starting from scratch, to see if there's any benefit to the engineering that's been done in the past, unless the engineer was the default in the building.
That is part of the default, yes.
Mr. Bartholomew?
Yes, that was my question. Was the engineering design was at fault of causing it? So that means we have to go back out and get a new engineering design. So that's additional money, like Mr. Roussel says, it's going to cost us additional funding.
It's definitely a different engineer from the original.
Yeah, I realize that, but I guess no one has the judgment on the default. On the judgment itself, did they attribute liability to individual parties, or did they just find the contractor negligent, or the engineer negligent, or the monitoring company negligent, or did they all share in this debacle?
Mr. Roussel, I'm going to have to defer to legal.
That's why I want a copy of the judgment.
I don't know how to make it work.
It's not on.
I guess my mic doesn't
There it
work.
is.
There you go, we got it, I'm sorry. It's my understanding that the judge did not specifically assign, well, he did assign fault, and I understand there were 35 companies involved, but that information has been sealed, and I asked for it, and I was told that I'm not going to get that information.
The judge sealed it?
Judge sealed it. That's, Shear Gardner told me that we weren't going to get that information.
I mean, that's unbelievable that our own information is sealed from us.
I
to
agree
not know
with you.
where we stand. What
I
if we would
agree.
go back and hire the same engineer and do the same mistakes over without learning from the record that's in the court?
We might be able to get the names, but not the specific amounts. I did ask for it, and Ms. Bloodworth of Shear Gardner.
What court
said-
is that in?
Eastern District Federal Court.
That's another incredible thing. That we can't even get the record.
Well,
Are you going to be able to get the record?
I don't know. I'm waiting. I haven't received an answer. Maybe not, since Ms. Welsh didn't have any luck getting the names.
Benny, you might remember I was not on this case until very recently, and this is information I'm getting from Shear
Well,
Gardner.
I would ask that the legal department try to unseal the record so we can look at the history and not make the same mistakes over.
I think that's a good idea. Sure do. But as far as the actual judgment, I understand from Ms. Bloodworth a few days ago
that there's still one party that has to sign it. Until that time, we won't have a copy, unless Mr. Cormier has a copy of it. I don't know.
I do not have a copy.
Okay, well, I could try to get a copy of
Well, I
the
would
34
encourage the
people
legal
signed.
department to do that,
Yes.
to try
Beg
to
your-
get a copy of
I didn't
much.
I didn't hear you, Benny.
I would encourage the legal department, try to get the record unsealed, and shine some light on what went down instead of burying it in the records of the court.
Okay, thank you.
Nicole, the
Yes, sir.
pool has to be destroyed also?
No, no. The
You're
pool-
going to keep the pool?
Yeah, the pool is, to my knowledge, I mean, no one said anything about the pool. The pool was not built correctly, so it hasn't even been, it's just like the Buras and the Port Sulphur pools. The slab that was poured, it's probably, I mean, I can defer to Mr. Freeman on that one. It's poorly constructed, so it may not even open, which is another sad situation.
On the
Excuse
positive
me.
side,
My main concern is the building at this time. We'll deal with the pool whenever that time comes.
Mr. Cormier, you have,
yeah, on the positive side, I think Nicole will agree that we got the okay from FEMA, and they will cover some of the expenses.
Okay, I didn't know that. I know the last time we spoke it was going to FEMA.
So you're saying that this will not cost the local government any money?
4.8, 4.6 that Nicole spoke about should be all squared away.
Right, correct.
Otherwise, FEMA is going to be involved, and we got the okay from
I
Mr.
just want
Gaffney.
yeah. So the question again is that the reconstruction of this facility will not cost us any local tax dollars?
It should come in at the price that she spoke about.
Right, not
That's
to
what we
my
have.
knowledge. As of right now, to my knowledge, I'm being told that whatever, if there's any other expenses incurred, FEMA will pick it up.
And All South was the inspector also on this? Do we
All
know?
South was the project manager.
Okay. We still paying them.
thank you. Anyone else? Audience?
Martin Lawrence, one question. Was this under a building permit taken out from the parish when they built this? And was the plans, if they were submitted to it, was it signed off by the engineer on the design and approved through the parish permit department? Then we ought to know who the engineer is. And my other question is he doing any more work for the parish at the current time?
Are we referring to the prior project, the project that resulted in the construction of the building, or a new set of plans for the rebuild?
No, the construction of the building.
Yes, they were completely engineered and stamped, and
Right. So we know who the engineer was who designed the building and submitted the plan, stamped them off.
yeah.
Seisler.
Seisler Architects.
And he was doing a parish building, and that's all I'm asking, is he doing any current work for the parish at this time?
I don't know. I don't think so, huh? Any answer to that?
I don't recall any currently under Seisler's contracts.
Nothing current that I'm aware of, but I think he did have several projects besides the Bluefield Community Center, correct, Mr. Dugas?
Yes, he did.
So it was more than one that he had.
But more importantly, he was monitored by All South.
Correct.
Okay, any more questions? All right, the machine is open on 6AA. And it's granted 7-0. Move to 6BB.
An ordinance to amend the 2016 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Parks and Monuments Department, Fort Jackson Division, and the 2016 General Fund Operating Revenue Budget, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
You offer, Ms. Williams? I'll second it.
The intention of this ordinance is to just transfer funds from the fees, cultural, recreation, Fort Jackson, into the Parks and Monuments Fort Jackson to purchase supplies for resale for the Fort Jackson Museum. To my knowledge, they had some items that they purchased for resale, And they were averaging, in the first quarter, I think they had about $1,000 worth of sales. They needed to replenish that, so this is just a one-time transfer, and then ongoing, the money that they make, they'll just replenish the supplies as needed.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions from the table?
Correct.
Well, actually, looks to me like this is just increasing some line items because of increased revenue.
Yeah.
The expenditure budget to purchase new items for resale. So it's going into the revenue budget and the operational budget.
Making all kinds of money down there, Nicole.
All right, any
We're
other
trying.
questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open on 6BB. And it's granted 7-0. We'll move to 6CC.
An ordinance authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Departments of Permits and Planning and Zoning to issue a temporary permit to Concat LLC to operate a temporary recreational vehicle/travel trailer park allowing up to four RVs and/or travel trailers, which will be located in an A2 rural or agricultural zoning district at 39502 Highway 23, Boothville, Louisiana, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Williams, you're offering?
Yes, I do.
We'll ask for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Russo. Ms. Williams?
Yes, I was contacted by the supervisor on the Empire Locks project. There's limited availability for housing in the lower end of the parish, and there's some property that's available that Concat LLC owns, and we're just wanting to give them temporary permitting in order to allow travel trailers to be brought in during the Empire Locks project for the workers to stay, to be able to stay there on site. And then it'll be void whenever the project is complete. They'll have a limited amount of time to pull those travel trailers out.
The estimate time on the project?
I want to say, he said about 2 years. Miss Rose, do you recall the amount of time on that project? I think he said about 2 years.
I do believe so. Blair.
Mr. Rittner?
Blair.
Empire Locks?
The Empire Locks?
What's the time frame on it?
Not the floodgate. Yeah, the back side. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And permit officer has no problem with this?
No, we don't have any problems with it. As long as the council member feels that it's a temporary ordinance to help with the construction for the parish, we see no problem.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just make sure that that'll be monitored, right? Y'all going to monitor that?
Well, at
I
the
mean,
end
at
of...
the completion of the project.
What we'll do is at the end of time frame of the project, if they haven't finished the completion of the project and they need to extend it, then we'll reach back out to Ms. Nicole and ask her if she can revise the ordinance or renew an ordinance to give them the temporary housing again.
Why would you apply for something different when it's completed?
I said if it wasn't completed at the time frame.
And they have 30 days after the completion of the project
Yes.
to remove everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, this
To renew and dismantle.
This brings up an interesting point. We did this in Belchase for the pump station and allowed temporary trailer parks to pop up, and we had to go to court to close them because they have no sunset in this ordinance.
Well, Ms. Nicole, didn't you give them 30
Yeah, it
days to
says in section
dismantle?
3, the council hereby reserves the
after
right to
the-
revoke said permit for any reason subject to 30 days.
After the
Oh,
completion?
no, I'm sorry, section 4, the temporary permit shall automatically expire 30 days after completion of said project.
I don't have the
Right,
ordinance.
and that's the open window that we had in the past where, when is the pump station complete? And years went by, and constituents got bent out of shape, and we had to wind up forcing it through the legal department to close it. Now, I'm not saying that would happen here, but it seems to me we ought to offer it for 1 year at a time, or 6 months at a time, or 18 months at a time, so there will be a day certain that they will have to come back here, and it won't be an open-ended permit sitting out there that's open for interpretation. Having lived with it, you know, I think that we should learn from that
Right.
experience.
I understand what you're saying, but I haven't seen the ordinance to see all the literature that was in there, whether
Well,
there was a time frame
Would you
or
be
not.
objectionable to putting a 360-day lifespan on this
No,
permit?
that's fine. I mean, that's fine. We was kind of basing this on a prior, ordinance that was done.
Prior mistake.
Well,
No,
this one
was-
actually
it wasn't
came off
that.
of
This was with the
Mr.
turnaround at the,
Clay Boudreaux's
right.
park, when he had a temporary ordinance, I think, that lasted for 120 days, or maybe for 6 months. That's probably, like I said, I haven't seen the ordinance that's on the table to see if there was like, when Mr. Boudreaux's, they included a 6 months temporary permit. So maybe if it's
that's
not
fine. We can
included
do
in
a
there,
1
then there
year.
should be some kind of time frame in there.
Right.
Yes, I remove my second and ask for the inclusion of the language on line 40 that this temporary permit for 360 days shall automatically expire. And
It can,
delete
it
the
can be done for 6 months as well. That's what we normally do when we, on
180
permitting
days?
issues. If we issue a temporary permit for any type of camper trailer or anything that's outside of the scope, we issue it for a 6 months temporary basis, because that's keeping in, retrospect of temporary. We always issue and write on a permit for 6 months temporary, and then at the end of that, the person who's applying for the permit has to come back and reapply. They have to get the zoning clearance first, and then we contact the council member of that district to be able to come and renew an ordinance for them, and then move on to the permitting process.
I think that's the way we should do.
6 months, I agree.
Then you're
Line
consistent.
40 will read,
This temporary permit for
For 6 months.
180 days or 6 months shall automatically expire, period.
okay?
Should automatically, could I suggest something? Could it say
2023?
that they would have to come back to renew?
Okay.
Yes.
When
It
included on
After the 6
automatically
months.
expire and must be renewed.
Yes, ma'am,
Included on,
and approved by the council as
Right.
well.
And may be renewed.
May be renewed.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
okay.
Thank you.
With those changes, Ms. Williams,
I'll
you're
offer,
offering?
yes.
Mr.
I second.
Second it? Okay. Any other questions? Machine is open on 6CC. And it's granted 7-0. 6DD is withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay. We'll move to item 7A. Introduction. Go ahead, Ms. Bond. I'm sorry.
A resolution is offered authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Council to request that the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources reconsider its decision to issue coastal use permit number P201-20190.
Hold on. All right, go ahead.
To Ram Terminals LLC to build a coal and bulk products export facility in the parish, and calling on the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources to conduct a comprehensive review of the Ram Terminal's potential impacts to the parish. Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
Yes, Ms.
Thank you, Ms. Barber. This item has been introduced under suspension.
Mr. Chairman, can I jump ahead of you, sir? Okay, I had every intention to request a suspension of my colleagues, but I have more than happy and great news to learn my colleagues today. As of yesterday, in lieu of this suspension that I was seeking, I'm happy to announce that on behalf of the Sierra Club and the Gulf Restoration and the Louisiana Environmental Action Network, who submitted a petition for reconsideration of the coastal use permit number P201-20190 issued to Ram Terminal. The petition for reconsideration of coastal use permit was granted. So there's not a need for my colleague in this council to ask for a reconsideration on behalf of the Sierra Club the petition was the reconsideration was granted. So right now, Ram Terminal have to go back there. They no longer have a coastal use permit. So they have to go back and go through all of the procedures and abide by the regulation that Judge Connors handed down. So I'm more than elated today. So I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank the governor. I just made a trip up to his office. I want to thank he and his staff, Councilman Ricky Templet, Friends of Jefferson Parish, Gretna, Westwego, Wood Park, Ironton, and Murder Grove, who were vigilant in opposing this coal terminal. So I'm very happy today that we were successful in this request for reconsideration. And I thank my colleagues for the vote last year of 8-0, and hopefully this Ram terminal may go away. Thank you.
So this is withdrawn.
So I'm going to withdraw.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Talman. We'll move, item 2 has been deferred, withdrawn also.
You can introduce it.
I introduced it. Yeah, I did. It was done on the introduction. Move to item 7B. Ms. Barbara?
Go ahead and defer.
So item 7B will be deferred. Item 7C.
Discussion of drainage, Councilmember Roussel.
Yes, I understand we're at a stalemate on River Oaks Drive, so I'll move on to other ones. And those other ones would be language. Do we have anything on where the fence line and that project is?
No, we don't have any progress on that one, and we're going to wait until that contract be signed. When that contract be signed, we'll be able to go back there and clean behind that fence by the government.
I didn't understand that. Could you repeat it?
This thing was, no, we can't go on the base until that contract be signed by Mr. Burmaster. When we get that straight, we'll be able to make that drainage for you.
Well, the answer to that question would be, once I get firm prices to submit to the Navy to justify our request, then I can proceed and negotiate, much like we did with the drainage contract recently.
Now, we in two different fields here. Let me say this. We are only asking the military for access to the back of this gentleman's yard by the fence so we can repair our drainage. This is Mr. Dixon, Tim Dixon, who has been asking for this for quite some time. This is 123 Gondrella Drive, where the lateral ditch goes and it touches the fence line. And we need to get on the inside of the fence line, and I've offered many times to get you there if that's what it takes. But that's what I'm asking for now, not contracts, work on the base side, or anything like that. So, again, this is Mr. Dixon's property on Gondrella Drive. Are we going to address that? Yes. I'll provide the access. I'll have the commander at the base meet you there, whatever you want.
Well, you must be better than me. Do it.
Well done. I will be there.
You got to
So
be
when
better
you
than me.
tell me, when do you
Well,
plan on going?
right now, Mr. Roussel, right now, I couldn't dig the ditch for you if I wanted to right now. We have levee inspection, we just had levee inspection, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. To do levee inspection, I take just about every person I have out there to cut the grass, shell the road, fix the hole, clean this, and spit shine on everything that has to be done out there on this particular 2 weeks.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. All I'm asking you for is a future date when you might see some sunshine.
That sounds good to me. We'll get together.
We've been dealing with this for almost a year. So, this is the situation that I see taking place. When my constituents call me and I submit a work request, they always tell me that they call the administration tells them to either buy them equipment or get them manpower, or call your councilman. So I take it, get the secretary to write up the paperwork and send it in. So what I will have to do now, like I'm going to do on River Oaks Drive, is say that the administration has decided that River Oaks Drive is not a problem. So when the water laps at your door, I can't help you because they've decided it's not a priority. I mean, if that's the game we're going to play here, we're not going to make any progress. So you had told us, give me 2 projects per district. So I've been coming here for months giving you 2 projects per district. Now I'm backing off on the River Oaks Drive because it's not a priority, and that's what I'll tell them. Now I'm down to one project.
Your project is the same. I cannot get on the base. It wouldn't make no difference if I dug a ditch and put it right there and the water stay in the ditch, then what you gonna call me to do? It can't go in the ditch until I get through the fence. Now, another thing I want to say, we come up with this thing here, this is like 3-4 meetings in a row. But I got 648 complaints with 7 people. I can't say no better than that. Now, you can figure that out. If I split you and give you 1 man in each district, I still can't give you no more than 7 districts.
Only one little project, a little progress. That's all I'm
As I say
asking.
again, I'll say it again, I have 648 complaints.
And if you'd fix this one, you'd have 1 less.
That's true.
All right.
That is a great.
Mr. Russo, if you don't mind, I'd like to.
Okay, Mr. Burt?
I'd like to add to your item, and then I'll defer mine, but, so let's get back to those 670-something projects that are out there. Are there any priorities on them, first of all? When I say priorities, I've got several houses in my district, like many others, that experienced almost near flooding the last couple rainstorms. But yet we still are digging ditches on vacant land. So to me, the houses that are flooding would take priority. And I don't see no priorities in your office, Mr. Wallace. And that's the bottom line. I'm not finished. I put a request in 2 weeks ago to ask your office to do a study, or whatever you want to call it, from Chevron to La Receipt, which covers District 6, Mr. Roussel's district, and Mr. Edgecombe's district. I have yet to get a response. I'm not asking people to dig ditches. I just want to know what the cause of the flooding is. No response. So I just want to know, when are the excuses going to stop and resolutions be implemented?
The excuses will stop when I get over 7 people to work in 9 districts from one end to the other end and both sides of the road.
It's priorities, Mr. Wallace. It's flooding or non-flooding, bottom line.
I pick out the best, the ones that needs the most. We go check them. That's the one I do.
So are you saying vacant land flooding in Jesuit Bend is more important than somebody's house flooding? I don't think so. It's a fact. You've been on that job for 2.5 months.
You could come every Monday, we have this meeting, and you can come explain yourself there, and I don't.
It ain't gonna do no good, sir. You don't even listen. You don't listen.
I don't think you are listening.
I know what the next action can be. It can get somebody that can do your job, because you're not doing it.
Well, I don't think you ever thought about yourself lately.
Call it what you like. We'll see the next council meeting. We'll solve this quick.
What you gonna do, fight me?
That's what you want to do? Just like I told you last time, we can take it outside.
Gentlemen.
Point of order, point of order.
Point
Point of order.
I got. Okay. Mr. Russo, do you have any other issues?
I have plenty of other issues, but I don't know if they're going to get resolved here. You know, I would ask Mr. President that you step up and have some type of organization in this department to be able to provide some relief to some of our requests. And, you know, I feel like I'm beating up on Mr. Dixon because I keep throwing his name out here trying to get his work done. And he tells me, look, I wash my hands of it. I understand you can't get it done, but it needs to be done. You know? And I have a list here that I could go through. And I'm not asking for all 75. I'm asking for just one every 2 or 3 weeks. So that's all I have.
Okay.
As soon as levee inspections are over, we will try to, I agree that a house would supersede, in other words, any vacant property for protection of homes. And I will get with Director Wallace, and we'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I want these two gentlemen to know that there's two women sitting in between you guys. So if y'all want to, just consider us.
Reverend Jones?
Let me say this, and I spoke to Mr. Morgan, and he's willing to help out in any way possible, because I know Mr. Wallace is swamped with a lot of requests, and he's limited on his resources. So what we're going to do, we're going to see if we can help him also. It may take us a little while with other duties, but we're going to help him out.
Thank you, Mr.
But, you know, look at this problem here. We're taking sewer and water people away from sewer and water to help out drainage, which is a contractor. You know, if that is the case, then we'd pay an ST too much money, because then they got people they can loan out to other departments. I mean, think about what we're doing here.
Wait, Mr. Morgan, come to the mic.
I can pay overtime. I have room in my budget to pay overtime to get some stuff done. I don't mind helping the administration to try to get some, especially if they're emergency situations. All of our stuff is, sometimes we have emergency situations. Mr. Lapine and Ms. Aldridge called me several times for emergency situation. If it's this emergency situation, I don't care if it's water or electrician, we're willing to do it. But we got priorities too, but I plan my stuff accordingly, you know.
So let me ask you this, that emergency fund that you have that you can use for overtime, at the end of the year, where does that money go? Into your profit, or is it remitted to the parish?
It goes back to the parish.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan.
Now we need to be considered, have a little bit more consideration. If we're going to sit up here and complain that we're not getting our ditches dug, and then when someone offer a resolution, I mean, come on now, I'm done.
Mr. Henry?
Yes. Man, let's be real up here. You guys want miracles, man. How a man gonna deal with 70 miles of a parish with 7 employees? You're looking for miracles. Miracles not gonna happen. And
Some of these things have been in since over a year now that haven't even been addressed.
yeah, but you don't want to hire nobody for a year either, for him to make some kind of progress. You know, you want to look at it one way, but hey, it takes money sometimes. This guy got 7 employees.
And
7
leadership
employees.
is what it takes.
Take what?
Organization and leadership and prioritizing.
I can't see where you can do 675 complaints with 77 people. And that's not digging ditches. Just simple math. It takes a miracle. Mr. Wallace, you got a tough job, man. I don't care if you give it to anybody. And if you want to go on and sub it out to somebody, they sure going to have more than 7 employees to do the job. So any way you look at it, it's going to cost money. Any way you want to do it, it's going to take money to do it. It's going to take more than 7 people to handle this situation.
I think you missed the point, Mr. Henry. The point is that was made that we're working on vacant land in a lot of areas, and it takes forever to do that. When we have the opportunity to help residents, we ought to take that as a priority over vacant land. And I don't have that in my district as far as vacant land, but I've heard it and seen it, and I can sympathize with Mr. Burt on, you know, his frustration. So money is money, whether you spend it on vacant land or whether you spend it on residential neighborhood. You think that the priority would be the residential neighborhood.
Well, all I can tell Mr. Wallace is, we had a problem with the previous administration. Everything was in bell shakes. Now, everybody wants to spread it out. It's too thin to spread it out. It's just too thin to spread it out.
All right, thank you. Wrap this up. All right. We'll move to item 7F.
Update on borrow pit monitoring and sales tax collection, Councilmember Roussel.
Do we have any update on that?
Mr. Russell, this was recently assigned to me, and I talked to Randy Osterlet earlier today, and he said he'll have a report for you at the next council meeting. But
I'll defer the item at this time.
Okay.
And I would think that Mr. Osterlet can give us a report on the Borough Pit. Sales Tax Department needs to be here to give us update on sales tax.
Okay, we'll make a note of that and defer that to next meeting. Move to item 7G.
Update on East Bank, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Like to welcome all your council members to the East Bank. Not too often I have a chance to get distinguished ladies and gentlemen over here. I just appreciate y'all being here. The courthouse project is underway for the demolition part of it. They're doing a pretty decent job. They're moving right along expeditiously. And I can see quick things happening. Soon, we're still in the process of getting ready to do the tower, get that stuff situated there. Also, my other thing that's concerned today is the Woodlawn Firehouse. It's a proposition to put on hold or whatever, but you have to understand that a tax proposition was passed by the public to refine and improve the quality of fire protection. It wasn't the millage to accept the EMS program into its midst. It wasn't part of that legislation. And if we do anything with the firehouse, believe it, I'm going to seek further actions of trying to rectify that, because I think we have to follow what we said, what the people said. And that's what that tax was for. It wasn't for anything else but that. And we have changed it by putting the EMS in the fire department, which is creating a deficit. As long as the EMS wasn't in there, we didn't have a deficit. And it's every time we do anything lately, it's always been recommended by different people, business folks, whatever, to eliminate projects on the East Bank. The first dream of things came about the dump bill of courthouse. The second thing was dump bill of levy on the upper end to balance the budget. All those kind of negative indios create problem when we get that kind of dialogue. And I'm not saying anybody on this table is saying that, but people in the communities across the broad waters are saying that. And that's not good, especially leaders, representative business folks. You can't do that. We have to understand that we have obligations. And no matter what, the levies belong to Plaquemine Parish government. And if we don't maintain those levies and fix them, we could be sued like we've been sued already by people. And I always think that the federal government mandate that we have to maintain those. And I don't think we need to go any further about what can happen. The other thing, just like everybody else, we have opportunities to, stuff needed to be done, ditches needed to be dug, grass needed to be cut. I understand that quite well, and I can understand Mr. Wallace's problem. Just don't have it. Just don't have it. But I'm here waiting. That's all I can say about that. The budget, I have the budget from the courthouse, the amount of money that was proposed and what it's going to cost with the new construction of the new courthouse. And I have that information. I will send that to anybody who would like it, or call me. I'll send you a copy of it. Also, I have concerns about different people, different departments going to be housed in the courthouse. Now it's coming to be a problem of space. Everyone that had anything to do or be a part of had an opportunity to meet with the architects to design or recommend to the architect to design a building to meet the square footage that they need. And if they chose not to do it, then I don't think it becomes upon this council to try to amend the budget some kind of way to try to deal with the issues that they created. Now, there are people that have budget money in their budget. They can take that money and take care of that problem, rather than us trying to take care of it when it should have been done up front. And so those are problems that's facing this government, going to face this project, the government. And it just behooves me things that we have to go through unnecessarily. And I appreciate that understanding of this council, understanding the plight that exists in Plaquemine, especially on the East Bank. And the only other issue that I see can ever rectify the desire of some of the people is to split it. The east stay on the east, the west stay on the west. Then you have no problem whatsoever about courthouse. You can build a courthouse on both sides of the river. There's no problem about levees, take care of both sides of the levees. There's no problem with highways, take care of both sides of the highways. So I think we need to understand what we were trying to do, because it's coming to be a serious problem when we are not getting, the east side is not getting the benefits of its financial revenues that is being developed or received from this side, putting back into this side. Now, I do know that we have problems, and I have no problem with things being spread it out. But please, spread it out and give everybody equal share. And equal district, each district needs certain things done. But every time we propose it, it's a problem. So, but if you want to do something and do it, stop playing around and do that. And then you won't have that problem to deal with. You wouldn't even have me to deal with. Think about that. I wouldn't be around to talk to you. Just say hello when I see you. You wouldn't have this discussion anymore. You know, if that's what's bothering the people so much, and they hate it so bad to come over here and do things, just separate it. It can pass. We'll get the legislators to do it with your support. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. One more. Move to 7I.
Update and review on Perez Borrow Pit and East Bank levy by Ronald Becknell. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Mr. Becknell? I hope your comments are brief.
Rather brief.
Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much. Just hoping that all of y'all got between my fax and my emails so we can be up to date on everything that's going on with the Perez Borrow Pits and the construction of the East Bank levees. Today, all of us should be have the same goal, to use our money wisely and hopefully to get the East Bank levees finally federalized. I could be brief here with this. I have about 9 sections, and all of them are 1 paragraphs. Based on a recent revelation of major additional costs to the parish for completion of contract A and D, sections by Fisher, plus new information and review of Plaquemines Parish Permit Office file, that the construction of a permit file of Perez appears to not contain appropriate regulatory permits required for operation of a full-scale commercial borrow pit. Along with recent information discovered that the dirt from Perez Farm was not acceptable to the engineers of Stowhaven, and the Corps building a private earth levee tie-in incorporated into the Mississippi River. I strongly urge Plaquemines Parish administration and council to consider these 9 things. Excuse me. A present low bid contract proposal of Fisher Sand and Gravel, currently under review by building at least last center section of B and C East Bank levees, should be held under advisement by the council until all recent questions presented to Plaquemines Parish administration and council, or both serious concerns, have been answered in writing by the engineer, Jerry Satterley, land director, Rittner, permit director, Mike Metcalf, and of course the contractor, Fisher, should give detailed accountings of all of the amounts of money paid to date and other monies being requested. Number 2, the pending contract for B and C should only be awarded using qualified clay soils from a supply source listed by the Corps. That updated list, is still available as of June 2012. Any other approved sources that has successfully passed the required 13-point step testing that the Corps requires. Number 3, a contract specification for the new BC requires verification by the engineer before a contract is awarded, that all applicable permits governing the proposed work be valid, in place, and full force of an effect, including current renewals. Recent resident review of construction permit file of Perez Farm apparently shows neither the contractor nor the engineer Satterley should be allowed to use dirt from Perez for construction of new contract B and C, nor any other back levee sections. Number 4, a contract specification of the new BC contains quality requirements for supply of levee soils to come from government-certified clay borrow sites, as published by the Corps of Engineers. It should not be at the discretion of a designing engineer to use substitutes that may be allowed by the engineer, determining that alternate sources of levee clay to be equal. The process of qualifications of quality should be for those Corps-approved sources. It appears that the Perez Farm supply source of levee clay cannot be proven or considered equal to. The same process requires of the Corps-approved clay supply source. Number 5, a recent discovery of information from the engineers at both Stowhaven and the Corps did not allow the use of dirt from Perez Farm to construct an earthen levee tie-in for the incorporation into the Mississippi River levee. Should really make Plaquemines Parish government stop immediately and question the use of the dirt from the Perez Farm for the parish back levee. If it was not allowed for a private levee tie into the federal levee, why then would Plaquemines Parish accept the Corps to accept it to rebuild our East Bank non-federal levees? The question there lies, if it was not good for a private company, why is it going to be good for us? And what's going to make that same soil, which is now currently going to be used for BC, what makes it good for us but not good enough for Stowhaven? Number 6, it appears that Jerry Satterley, fence maker engineer, and Randy Ocelot of Myers Engineers were both hired by the previous administration, Billy Nungester. It also appears that Satterley nor Myers have done their job for which they were paid. I was hoping that this new administration and council would not follow the previous administration's letter of law. Number 7, Satterley has never explained to date why he deviated strict Corps guidelines from the West Bank, where they use only quality clay soil from Corps-approved pits. But on the East Bank, Satterley changed in 2012 and allowed substitutes that never has been subject to government testing, federal or state agencies, which he allows up to this date, including B and C. Nor has Satterley protected Plaquemines Parish by confirming that all acceptable permits were obtained on file before awarding contracts A and D and now BC. A general feel from the residents of the East Bank, we feel as though we're being discriminated against by not using, as all other projects throughout the parish, using clay-approved soils. Why are we on the East Bank being denied the same things that come normal to West Bank levee building projects? Number 8, and I'm going rather quickly through this, for some reason, Myers began his review in the Perez permit file and borrow pit form in August of 2015. As of April of 2016, a report was still not available from Myers, and which long should be which alone should disqualify using the Perez Farm materials. Number 9, we learned that the contractor Fisher delivered an extra bill to Plaquemines Parish government, recently asking to be paid an extra $1.2 million for installing an extra 3-inch lift to the clay contract of Section A. Then I learned recently this week that Fisher is now in the process of preparing an extra bill for Plaquemines Parish government for paying for additional monies for extra work on D. I don't know where that money would come from, but that would be an extra $500,000 to $1 million. Should Plaquemines Parish not stop immediately and insist on a full written explanation of why these monies should be paid, or monies in the future should be paid? Because remember, B and C is coming, and it seems to be a long written request here. We wind up getting through 80% of the project upon completion, and then Mr. Rittner comes up here and asks for additional funds. I don't see that happening. I know the parish budget is pretty low, and we have to watch and maintain our money. The Plaquemines Parish Council has a legal responsibility and authority to regulate borrow pits, approve, deny, rescind permits, investigate alleged violations, approve or reject awards to contractors, construction contractors, along with the authority over changes in payments of these contracts. It is not my job as a resident to investigate these matters, nor is it required of me to stand here and answer any questions. As concerned East Bank residents who lives within these back levees, I simply have made you aware of what I have learned. Any questions you have should first be directed to individuals responsible for Plaquemines Parish government, such as Satterley, Rittner, Metcalf, and Fisher. I thank y'all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Beckner.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, you'd like to put that into the records?
Yes.
Would you give it to the chairman?
Yes, I have a copy for it.
Well, you can give it to him now. All right.
I think we got one by
That
email. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, if I may respond, we want to thank Mr. Becknell for his interest in, the information that he's checked on. We do want him to know that all of the information you have given to us has been sent up the line, to the Corps, to the state, as well as Mr. Satterley. None of them to date has come back with any red flags. The other thing is, last night, as you know, there was a meeting called on the East Bank at Bethlehem Church. Reverend Giles and I were there. We got Mr. Satterley to come, and no one showed up as far as the interest concerning the East Bank back levees. Most of the input that we're getting is that people are elated that we're building that back levee. The other thing is, with the delay, 2 weeks ago, last Sunday, at 6 p.m., high tide was coming in, and I stood on the back levee behind the Bel Air pump station. And I really would be concerned about any type of delay, because we were this far from the water coming over the levee, and that wasn't even a storm. That was just an east wind blowing. So as far as the delay is concerned, I would have to say that I don't think that would be wise for the people on the East Bank. But we will continue to look at the information you've given us. It has provided us with a betterment that we've made on the B&C contract. We've instituted, gone from cubic yards to tons, because they were charging us for dirt that was flying off the truck and not actually being put on the levee. So we think we've made a good adjustment there. We spoke with Mr. Satterley about that. We also spoke about the tolerance, decreasing the tolerance, so we saved money there. And of course, we've increased the liquidated damages. So a lot of the information that you've given us is, we've put into the B&C, and we will continue to look at the other things that you have and share any information that we get from on top with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier.
Mr. President, could you possibly set up a meeting with all those who are concerned, since we can address that together? at a
Yes,
meeting?
that's what we had
All right.
last night, and.
Well,
said,
I'm talking about your
unfortunately-
office, though. Set it up at your office over there.
Sure.
We'll be there.
Yeah,
Thank
certainly
you.
we'll do that, and just tell me who you want there, and we'll invite them.
Well, all those who were mentioned today that we need to get involved with, those of concern.
And I'd like to be invited in the meeting. I went to the bid opening and expressed some concerns when the bids were opened, and I was assured that there was enough money in the job to complete the job for the dollars that were bid, and I would not expect to see any change orders come in here for additional materials or other expenses. And I think my comment at the bid opening was that they felt they were going to be able to do the job for that much money, and I was expressing myself that if they don't do the job for that much money, then we'll have to go to the legal route rather than the change order route. Correct? I'm asking for, didn't you agree when I was there and said that?
I do recall your comments, Mr. Roussel.
Well, those were my comments there, and then my comments here today. So, coming back for more money is not the answer.
All right, Ms. Salvant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, what raises a red flag for me is, in Mr. Becknell's comment, he kept referring to unsuitable soil. If that's indeed a fact, I mean, a delay, I would think we would welcome a delay in building the levees. If we're dealing with unsuitable soil on these levees, I think that's reason to pause.
All right, thank
Yes, excuse me again, but I wasn't really looking for a delay. There is still
No,
plenty.
Mr. Cormier mentioned about
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
delaying the process.
Wasn't indicating a delay. There's still plenty time. I think it's going to be May 13th, Friday the 13th is when the parish then has to officially award the contract to a bidder. There's still time to get together with Satterley. Again, I mentioned he has never responded to any of the questions I asked about the quality of soils being used at this present time. My knowledge of this is as simple. 50% of getting us to the point we need to get to federalize the levy is do the same thing they're doing on all non-federal levies in Plaquemines Parish. They use clay-approved soil. This soil has nothing to do that they're getting from Perez Pit, has nothing to do with any Corps approvals at all. In fact, I was the one that called the Corps to notify. They didn't even know of them even digging that site. So there's, if you and I together owned 1,000 acres, they would probably be months, almost a year, in preparing all of this to get this all organized, to get permission from the Corps and state to even dig if you wanted to give the mud away or you wanted to stockpile it somewheres. But we're using this. The intentions of the Perez Pit originally was to build crawfish ponds. From there, for only a $1,000 permit, they were able to sell millions of dollars of untested soil. So a delay is not what we're looking for, not what I'm asking for either, but to get the correct soil that's needed so we can get the levees federalized.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
The
you.
Corps has stipulated to me, Mr. Chairman, that 35% is the percentage that they allow or that they go along with. And every inspection that we've had and every report that we've had from the Corps indicates that they have utilized the proper percentage of soil and clay for the back levees on the east bank. Now, that's just the reports we're getting, but we will continue to check, Mr. Becknell, and to monitor that situation, see if there's any other results that come in.
And if we could only insist.
Hold on, Ms. Williams has a question.
Well, my question was, who monitors the soil? That was going to be my question, and he said the report comes from the Corps.
Okay.
All right. Which report?
With the use of the soil, he said it's supposed to be a certain...
Let me clarify, I'll let Mr. Rittner clarify the exact stages it goes through.
Okay. Right now, there's 3 testing labs on site, all right? We test the soil every 500 linear feet or every 1,500 cubic yards, whichever comes in first. Right now, the speculation about him saying that we're not meeting spec, first of all, the Corps of Engineers canceled their contractor, their pit criteria about 4 or 5 years ago. There's about probably 50 of them still on their site. Some of them are closed, some of them are still active. So what the specification says is that we meet the Corps specification. Now, right now, on contract A, the Corps specification says we got to have a 90% compaction rate. Right now, we're at 98%. We have a very good levee system, all right? The Corps spec says that we could go up to, their spec says they could go up to 35%. We are under 35% on sand. You have a 9% moisture content, organic content, all right? We are coming in under the 9% organics. There's a criteria for, what's the other criteria?
Salinity.
Hang on, I got like 5 different criteria. Say
Salinity?
again? Yeah, I mentioned sand.
Salinity?
But anyway, we have met the specifications. We have 3 testing labs. They got a lab test in a lab test in a lab. And they all coming in within the specifications. So for him to make these accusations to me is grossly negligent. We have the data to prove what we have meets the Corps specifications. So I don't know how we put this to bed unless y'all want to come and look at the mud testing and see what we have.
Okay, just a minute. Mr. Russell has a statement or question.
I just want to clear the record up. The Corps has done any inspections on these projects at all?
No, this is
So,
not a,
so
this
let's
is a
get the
parish
Corps out
job.
the picture. We just
They-
talking about their specs, their paperwork, and we
Exactly.
meeting those criteria.
Exactly.
So the Corps is not approving anything. The
No.
Corps is not involved. This is a local levy. It's not a federal levy.
Exactly.
So, before we ever get it in the federal system, the first thing we would do would be a congressional act.
Right.
And they would come out and they would do their own test.
Exactly.
So they may accept the documents that we have and they may not.
Right.
And if not, then they would do their own soil borings and everything else,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
So we got to clear the record about the Corps being involved. They're not. This is
Correct.
strictly local contracts and local
And
levy.
one of our mud testing labs is the same lab the Corps of Engineers uses. And everybody's on the same page. So I want to put this to sleep.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ritter. Okay, thank you, Mr. Beck.
Just to
Wait,
ask-
we're not, okay.
Just to ask that question.
Mr. Beck
then.
now. Okay. We're
I'm
going to
sorry.
emphasize to Mr. Bartholomew's, we're going to have a meeting all together, okay? We're not going
I'm
to
sorry,
go back
what?
and, we're going to have a meeting, Mr. Cormier is going to facilitate a meeting, okay? So we're not going back and forth, he said, she
Okay,
said,
oh,
okay?
no, oh, correct. I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
All right, we'll move to item 8.
Approval of the minutes from the April 14, 2016 council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been offered in second. Machine is open on the approval of the minutes.
Move to adjourn.
Grant. It's been a motion by Mr. Russo, second by Mr. Bartholomew. On the adjournment, the machine's open on adjournment. And we are adjourned at 7-0 at 5:33.